All Heaven's Civilization Cultivator. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76 Great Change. Let the network technicians in the department work hard to block all the network attacks from foreign forces. Wei Renming snorted coldly. Now the plan to train warriors in China has just been put on the agenda. Before a large number of Blood Key realm warriors are trained, the information related to Blood Key martial arts and time travelers must not be known to foreign countries. This is the great killer of Xuxia country. It is no less than the development of nuclear weapons decades ago. If we can figure out the root of Blood Key martial arts, maybe we can advance the scientific breakthroughs in biological science, genetic technology, etc. to the next era, extending the average lifespan of humans, enhancing human quality, eliminating most diseases. Every technological breakthrough is a major event that benefits the country and the people. Before the research results appear, no one can be exposed rashly. The focus of network security defense is still on the time traveler forum. The network technicians were somewhat helpless. Other domestic websites and platforms are easy to say. With their network technology, they can be completely defended. But the time traveler forum is different. It is not within the control of the official, and is the biggest breakthrough point of the official network defense. At the beginning, the forum built by Sheila was on the external network. Netizens in Xuxia needed to use ladder to log into the forum. However, after the control of the forum fell into the hands of the Dao system, this restriction no longer existed. No matter where you are on Xuxing, as long as you have an internet connection, you can log into the Transmigrators forum. This is the most free website on Xuxing, and no one can restrict it. It would be great if the management authority of the Transmigrators forum was in our hands. Wei Renming also knew this, but he still ordered the network technicians to do their best. At the same time, Wei Renming prepared to apply for a water army offensive against the Transmigrators forum. Let the water army post a large number of posts in the forum every moment, to confuse the real with the fake and cover up the valuable posts in the Transmigrators forum. Then Wei Renming looked at the situation of the 150 people who practiced in the Tianyuan martial arts hall. With the unlimited supply of fish and meat, the more than 100 people can be said to be practicing desperately. Except for sleeping, the rest of the time is almost spent practicing the Tianyuan body forging fist. In addition, Mingyuan, the Martial Ancestor, is carefully guiding them. It's true that more than a dozen people with good martial arts talents have cultivated the first ray of blood energy in just 2 or 3 days. This also made the official people really understand that blood energy martial arts is real. Continue to increase the allocation of resources, and do our best to satisfy these people's needs. Wei Renming made a note in the report. These 150 people are the seeds of martial arts in Xuxia. According to the plan, once they cultivate to the first level of blood energy, they will immediately go to the major war zones as martial arts instructors, to guide more soldiers to practice. As for whether to spread martial arts to the people in the future, it depends on the situation of the ancestral star at that time. If the time travelers really appear in batches as mentioned in the previous report, especially if time travelers also appear abroad and are discovered by foreign officials, then in the future, there will inevitably be countless martial artists, transcendents, who are not among the official ones on the ancestral star. The spread of martial arts in Xuxia needs to be on the right track. Is this what the young people call the revival of spiritual energy and the advent of the extraordinary era? Wei Renming shook his head. This is a huge social change that is no less than the Industrial Revolution. We must seize it and never let it go. The Industrial Revolution hundreds of years ago laid the foundation for the basic pattern of the current Xuxing, and the advent of this extraordinary era will also affect the pattern of the Xuxing in the future. Neon Country, Edo. In a single-person rental house, a man lying face down on the ground suddenly trembled. The next moment, a wave that modern scientific and technological instruments could not detect appeared from the void and poured into the man's mind. The man opened his eyes and roared in a special language, "Go to hell." The huge sound broke the tranquility of the night, and the residents on the upper and lower floors, and on the left and right sides were awakened all of a sudden. Bagger, are you looking for death? Why are you howling like a ghost in the middle of the night? The residents who were disturbed from their sweet dreams were furious, opened the window and sprayed wildly. Looking at this posture, it seemed that they would rush into the man's house the next moment, to have a duel between samurai. The man turned a deaf ear to the abuse of the residents around him. He looked at the familiar furniture layout around him with a face full of shock and disbelief. This is my home in Edo? Didn't I die under that man's sword? Is everything just a dream? The man murmured to himself, no. All this is so real, it's definitely not just a dream. There is no doubt that this Japanese man is a time traveler, but a time traveler who was eliminated early. The man quickly turned on the computer next to him and checked the current date. He found that only 2 days had passed since the day he traveled through time. I have clearly traveled to that other world for 26 years, but it has only been less than 3 days since the ancestral star. I can't believe it. Otakisiji was full of excitement. This is the protection of the gods. For Otakisiji, who has seen countless two-dimensional anime and comics, his experience is very familiar. It is completely the script of Uncle returning from another world. When he was in Tianyuan continent, Otakisiji's strength was not high. In 26 years, he only reached the peak of the blood coagulation realm. But it is different on the ancestral star. This is an ordinary world without extraordinary powers. If Otakisiji's strength grows to the level of the Tianyuan continent, in this neon country, he can almost be said to be the strongest human. No, even the strongest human on the surface of the ancestral star. Signoi, it's great. On the ancestral star, there are many traversers like Otakisiji who were eliminated early. After all, the Tianyuan continent is not a peaceful place. There are abundant martial virtues and simple folk customs, and fighting and killing often happen. In the process of growing up, traversers will inevitably have conflicts with others, which will lead to the risk of bloodshed and death. However, compared with the first batch of traversers, this batch has had a good experience. At least even if these people's journey of crossing is ended early, they still have a certain amount of martial arts knowledge, and they can practice again after returning to the ancestral star, although the level is not high. Unlike the first batch of traversers, most of them did not even survive the age of 8 and had never practiced martial arts. After all, when the first batch crossed, it was a primitive society. The mortality rate of traversers is too high. When the second batch of travelers traveled through time, it was already the feudal dynasty period, when productivity had greatly increased, and medical skills were widely popularized. One must know medicine to practice martial arts. Therefore, except for a few unlucky travelers, most of the second batch survived until they were 8 years old and came into contact with blood key martial arts. Chapter 77 Antiques. Cheoxi Pavilion. Wen Dao opened the door for business as usual, and then lay leisurely on the armchair. But today, a familiar guest came to Cheoxi Pavilion. Ding ding dong dong. The bronze bell on the door beam shook gently, making a crisp and pleasant sound, reminding the owner of the house that a guest was coming. Welcome. Wen Dao, who was lying on the armchair, said casually while looking up at the door. Through the hollow screen, he saw a young man wearing a mask and a black cap, holding a black bag, pushing open the carved door and coming in. Although the young man was wearing a mask, it can be seen that his age was not much different from Wen Dao, but in his early 20s. Guests, please feel free to take it away, if you like it. Wen Dao took a sip of tea, and his tone was extremely casual, allowing the young man to walk around in Cheoxi Pavilion. In fact, the moment the young man entered Cheoxi Pavilion, Wen Dao recognized his identity. He is Guteng, one of the traversers that Wen Dao paid more attention to on Zuxing. It's just that Wen Dao knows Guteng, but Guteng doesn't know him. Guteng's behavior today seems a little sneaky. He pretends to be an ordinary customer and looks at the antiques displayed in the store. After carefully checking the antiques on the several mahogany antique shelves near the gate, Guteng judged that they were a group of craft imitations, which were no different from most of the antique stalls outside. Guteng was a little disappointed. He thought that this antique shop was just like the other ones on the street, and it was an ordinary one that didn't know the goods. He was about to leave, but he glanced and saw the antiques on a shelf inside the house, and his heart was shocked. As a top student majoring in archaeology at Chang'an University, Guteng has a lot of experience in antique objects. He could tell at a glance that the porcelain, bronze, jade and other antiques on this shelf were very different from other imitations. These are all genuine! And they are genuine cultural relics that have only been unearthed for a few years. Guteng added this sentence in his heart. Thinking of this, Guteng's eyes suddenly lit up. Guteng looked around and saw that there were few people around Cheongsui Pavilion, and no one was paying attention to this place. Guteng hesitated, wondering whether to sell the things in his arms. Guest, do you have anything you like? If you are lucky, how about taking it away? At this time, a gentle voice came from behind, waking up Guteng from his deep thoughts, and he turned around and looked. The owner of the voice was the boss of Cheongsui Pavilion. When he saw Wen Dao for the first time, Guteng couldn't help but admire in his heart. What a handsome man. His temperament is as ethereal as a banished immortal. Before, Wen Dao was lying on the armchair behind the counter, and Guteng only knew where the boss was, but didn't know he was so young and handsome. Hearing Wen Dao's question, Guteng finally made up his mind and decided to trust his intuition. He came to Wen Dao and asked, "Boss, do you collect antiques?" Wen Dao opened his eyes and looked at Guteng with interest. "Yes, I do, whether it is regular or of unknown origin." "What? Do you have antiques that need to be sold?" Hearing Wen Dao's words, Guteng's last worry finally dissipated, and he whispered, "Yes, boss, I have an ancestral Tang San Kei, take a look." As he said that, Guteng opened the black bag in his arms and revealed the objects inside. Wen Dao took a closer look and said, "Oh, it's true. But whether it is authentic or not, I still need to take a look." Then Wen Dao took out the colorful horse-shaped porcelain inside and took out a magnifying glass to examine it carefully. More than 10 minutes later, Wen Dao put down the porcelain bottle, nodded and said, "It is indeed a genuine Tang San Kei, with bright colors, well preserved, and almost no defects." A smile appeared on Guteng's face. As the ancient capital of 13 dynasties, Chang'an has countless ancient objects buried underground. Over the years, during the construction of Chang'an City, 8 out of 10 ancient tombs were dug up, and the construction site turned into an archaeological site in a blink of an eye. During his 3 years in college, Guteng followed the college teachers to conduct several on-site archaeological excavations. He once dug several pieces of Tang San Kei pottery from the soil with his own hands. Of course, this Tang San Kei was not stolen by Guteng from the archaeological site. There are a lot of surveillance cameras at the archaeological site, and there are staff everywhere. Even if Guteng is practicing now and is more agile than ordinary people, he can't steal antiques from it. This Tang San Kei was obtained by Guteng from a group of tomb robbers! As the saying goes, there is no coincidence. There are many ancient tombs around Chang'an City, and naturally there is no shortage of tomb robbers who take risks. When Guteng went to the mountains to practice again, he happened to meet a group of tomb robbers. With his eyesight and hearing that far exceeded that of ordinary people, he knew their identities and knew that they had just dug up a Tang Dynasty tomb not long ago. So, Guteng, who was short of money and needed a lot of money to maintain his cultivation, followed them back to their old nest and got several antiques by robbing others. Anyway, these antiques were taken out by tomb robbers and were smuggled abroad for sale. It would be better to help him, a poor man. As for those tomb robbers who were robbed by others, they would not dare to call the police. Guteng came out today just to make some money with these antiques. As a student majoring in archaeology, Guteng knew that if he was caught buying and selling antiques of unknown origin, he would be sentenced to a very high sentence. But there was no way. Guteng was not as good as Ming Yan. The money he earned from shooting some martial arts videos on the internet was too little to support his daily cultivation needs. And there was no evil force in Chang'an City for him to rob others. Guteng could only choose to sell these antiques. Otherwise, his cultivation would stagnate. You must know that Ming Yan became the first layer of Blood and Ki realm a few days ago. And Guteng, now the Blood and Ki power is only more than 300 kilograms. There is still a long way to go from the first layer. This is the gap brought by resources. Of course, when he was selling, Guteng also carefully identified it and found that many antiques here in Wen Dao were suspected of unknown origin, so he asked Wen Dao if he would buy antiques. After getting Wen Dao's clear answer, Guteng was certain. Guteng said, "Boss, my Tang San K is colorful and can be regarded as the treasure of the town. How about you give me a price and I will sell it to you?" Wen Dao smiled and stretched out 5 fingers. 5 million, how about it? Guteng's eyes condensed, a little surprised. Really? In fact, this price is a bit high. Some Tang San K, the auction price at the auction, can indeed reach tens of millions of RMB. But for such antiques of unknown origin, general antique shops will lower the price to the lowest, at most more than 1 million, or even only a few 100,000. But who asked Guteng to make a great contribution to Wen Dao, although he himself did not know it? Wen Dao naturally would not treat him unfairly. What's more, Wen Dao did not value this little money at all. Giving it to Guteng can make him practice faster and help Wen Dao spread martial arts in Zuxing. Why not do it? Chapter 78 The Influence of the Ancestral Star. Looking at Guteng going away, Wen Dao returned to his leisurely look, and the Tang San K was casually placed on the antique shelf by him. As for its origin, Wen Dao's company will help him solve it and guarantee that it was definitely obtained through normal channels. There are many antiques similar to this Tang San K in Cheoxi Pavilion, all of which were obtained by Wen Dao during his 5 years of traveling around the country. Antiques. Wen Dao lowered his eyebrows and looked at Tianyuan realm. Speaking of which, the treasure of civilization on Tianyuan Star has been buried. Now there are only 2 treasures on Tianyuan Star that can be called treasures of civilization. One is the text stone tablet on which the ancestor of characters created the first characters 1,000 years ago in Tianyuan realm. The other is the former martial arts jade bee, now the human king seal, which was given by Wen Dao to the ancestor of martial arts Minimum Yan to help him create the bloody martial arts system step by step. Both of these items have been baptized by the merits of heaven and earth, and their texture is extraordinary. The text slab will change according to the development of human civilization on Tianyuan Star. The text that appeared on Tianyuan Star will appear and be engraved on it in real time. Like the original hieroglyphics, the oracle bone characters of the subsequent era of Minimum Yan, and the small seal characters after Guteng founded the Wu dynasty, they are all recorded in it. Of course, apart from this function, the text slab has no other effect. It is precisely because of this that the text slab has not been passed down like the human king seal. In the years of war, it was lost in the vast sea of people, and no one knew its traces. But this is not a problem for Wen Dao at all. Wen Dao's heart moved, and he immediately knew the location of the text slab at the moment, which was in a tomb. This tomb belongs to a king of Wenyuan Kingdom. Wenyuan Kingdom was born from the tribe of the former character ancestor, the Wen tribe. It also gave birth to a traverser hundreds of years ago. This traverser knew that he was no match for Guteng, so he decisively led the tribes of the Wen tribe to withdraw from the God-given plane and go to other places to rebuild the tribe. Later, following the trend, the Wen tribe became a country, the Wenyuan Kingdom. Unfortunately, 200 years later, the Wenyuan Kingdom was conquered by the Wu dynasty's army and became the territory of the Wu dynasty. Let's get back to the point. If there were no tomb robbers digging this tomb, it would be unknown when this treasure of text would see the light of day again. So Wen Dao waved his hand and took it out directly from the Tianyuan realm. The texture of the text slab felt as smooth as jade. Text. Wen Dao. Wen Dao suddenly thought of a special cultivation system. Horan Wenqi system. This is a system specially designed for scholars to practice, and its potential is also extraordinary, no less than that of ordinary martial arts systems. In the future, I may be able to use this thing as a foundation to create a new world with the Horan Wenqi system. With this thought, Wen Dao suddenly felt that it was feasible. Of course, if this idea is to be realized, it will have to wait until the source is sufficient in the future and a new world is created. If the world of Wen Dao really appears, this item can be passed down as a golden finger. I just don't know who will be the lucky one. Wen Dao placed the stone tablet with text on the antique shelf. The next moment, the divine object was hidden, and the jade-like texture disappeared in an instant, turning into an ordinary stone tablet. Even the most knowledgeable historians and archaeologists on the ancestral star could not tell its origin, and at most they could tell that it had a history of 1,000 years. After solving this matter, Wen Dao looked elsewhere. Guteng's arrival today reminded Wen Dao and made him slightly more interested in the experiences of the time travelers. Through the Xian Dao system, Wen Dao quickly learned about the activities of the time travelers on the ancestral star these days. In order to make money for cultivation, the time travelers really made a lot of incidents. There are people like Jigsu Hao who go abroad to act arrogantly. With their military power far beyond that of ordinary people, they quickly set up a force that can meet their own cultivation needs. When their strength becomes stronger in the future, their power will also become greater. Some choose to show off their power in front of some rich people and get investment from them in this way. On the surface, they are the martial arts teachers or bodyguards of the rich. Of course, there are also some daring travelers who directly choose to kidnap rich people or corrupt officials, or their families, and make a lot of money from them. Needless to say, some travelers succeeded. These kidnapped rich people and corrupt officials dare not call the police, and can only blame themselves for their bad luck. But some rich people are not afraid and directly choose to call the police to alert the authorities. Some travelers have entered the official site in this way. There is a traveler near the sea. After his strength has improved, he chose to go into the sea to retrieve some treasures or catch some seafood. But by mistake, he fished out a detector in the sea. After he handed in the detector, he not only did not expose his identity, but also received an official reward. It is also a special one among the travelers. Of course, the most are those travelers who have been discovered by the official and included in the organization. There are more than 100, and the number is still increasing. With official endorsement, they live much better than other travelers. They have unlimited supply of various meats and a basic salary allowance of 10,000 per month. All they have to do is to practice with all their strength, guide some people to practice as Ming Yan did, and occasionally cooperate with scientists to conduct research such as blood drawing. Of course, research such as slicing and dissection is impossible. After all, it is a society ruled by law now. The situation of travelers after being recruited was posted on the forum by the official. Needless to say, some travelers were tempted and took the initiative to join the official. According to them, the end of the universe is the organization. In nearly a month, the influence of travelers has gradually increased. It seems that these travelers have not disappointed me. Wen Dao smiled while drinking tea. When the second batch of travelers all return, this influence will continue to grow. The second batch of travelers are all over the world, scattered in various countries. Among them, there are those from chaotic areas. After they return, they will practice martial arts to a certain strength, which will surely cause a big wave in the world. At that time, the existence of blood martial arts will also be made public. By then, all the countries on the ancestral star will notice the existence of the time traveler, the blood key martial arts, and so on. It will be soon, when the influence of the blood key martial arts is big enough and there are enough people practicing it. When Dao looked up at the sky outside the window, it will be the time to condense the blood key martial arts lore and slowly nourish the extraordinary soil. By that time, I will be able to do something big and directly create a large amount of heaven and earth energy to cover the ancestral star. In the soul, the world tree swayed slightly, and the 3 emerald green leaves emitted a faint glow, as if echoing Wen Dao's words. Chapter 79 Power. On the other hand, Guteng, who successfully sold antiques for 5 million, immediately went to a famous real estate in Chang'an City and directly bought a small villa. Wen Dao had already taken care of the source of the money and guaranteed absolute safety. A single family villa is expensive, almost just emptying Guteng's money. But Guteng is not worried at all, because he still has a few antiques in his hand, and when he sells them at Cheongsi Pavilion tomorrow, the money will naturally come back. With this villa, Guteng can also let go of his hands and feet and exercise wantonly, without worrying about being discovered and photographed online, and then attracting the attention of the authorities. Unlike before, Guteng had to leave the school first and go to the nearby mountains and forests to practice away from others. Guteng, who had chosen a villa, felt relieved, waved his hand, and called a taxi back to school, ready to start moving. In the car, Guteng looked at the posts that were constantly refreshed in the Traverser forum. Although the official did not have real control over the forum, under their water army offensive, most of the posts in the forum were officially released. Sheila did not interfere with this situation. The actual control of the forum is basically in the hands of the official. Most of these posts show the time travelers who joined the official, how they were treated, and what the official attitude was. They are trying their best to attract other civilian time travelers. Even Guteng's forum private messages, the official also sent him an invitation letter on time every day. They told Guteng directly that, as long as he was willing to join the official, he would receive treatment no worse than the explicit statement. After all, Guteng is also a generation of kings and the second founder of the Blood and Key martial arts system. However, Guteng never paid attention to these private messages. As I said, he didn't want to be inferior to others and be a subordinate of others. After flipping through a lot of water posts used to confuse people, Guteng saw several posts posted by other time travelers. Among them was Tixuhao. Tixuhao briefly introduced his current situation in the post, saying how happy he was after coming to Neon, which was more comfortable than being a marquis in the Tianyuan continent. The current Tixuhao is already a martial artist in the Blood and Key realm. This is the second time traveler to reach this realm, and he also feels the existence of the vitality of heaven and earth. Regarding this point, Tixuhao did not hide it at all, and wrote it down in detail in the post. The main reason is that Tixuhao knows that it is only a matter of time for other travelers to reach the Blood Key realm, so there is no need to hide it. It is better to make it public, to win the favor of everyone. Guteng looked at what was said in the post, and his eyes suddenly lit up. It turns out that the cause and effect between us and the Tianyuan continent has not been interrupted. As for the Blood Key realm, it seems that we have to reach it as soon as possible. With the existence of the Yuan Key of heaven and earth, their cultivation will only be faster. Over time, the gap between them, the travelers, and ordinary warriors will only become larger and larger. This is a big advantage for them. The sooner they enter the Blood Key realm, the sooner they can enjoy this advantage. After Guteng figured this out, he decided not to return to school from tomorrow. Anyway, he is already a senior, and the last important thing in school is to complete the graduation thesis and defense. Other irrelevant things can be pushed aside and enter the cultivation wholeheartedly. Guteng continued to look at Tixuhao's post and found that he was going to teach some of his loyal brothers to cultivate. Because Tixuhao had the same idea as Guteng, knowing that he could enjoy himself in Neon Country, all thanks to his strength. So if he wanted to maintain it, his strength must always be ahead, and naturally he had to have more time to practice. Gang trivia such as grabbing territory and fighting in groups can be handed over to his trusted younger brothers. Tixuhao only needs to grasp the overall situation of the gang. Of course, the cultivation methods taught by Tixuhao are all the lowest level, so that the younger brothers can have a strength of 200 or 300 kilograms. Guteng looked at the post and pondered. In the future, under the influence of the Traversers, the number of warriors on Zuxing will increase. Maybe the social order will be impacted. This is also what the officials have been worried about, so they will use their power to find the traces of the Traversers and ask them to join. I also want to make plans for the future, and Tixuhao's approach has inspired me. After careful consideration, Guteng decided to create a force on Zuxing. Of course, it is not a black and evil force, but a force such as a martial arts sect or martial arts hall. Guteng had a premonition that Zuxing would undergo a huge change, and the extraordinary era was bound to come. Therefore, having a power can also serve him better. And the candidates for the power members are naturally the brothers who share the same dormitory with Guteng. After these days of testing, Guteng believes that these brothers will not easily expose his identity. Chang'an University, dormitory. Guteng called all three brothers in the dormitory back. He looked serious, took a deep breath, and said to his brothers seriously, "Can I trust you?" Luo Yun was a little surprised why Guteng said that. He said, "Brother Teng, what's wrong with you? We have been good brothers for 4 years. Of course you can trust us." Li Qiang laughed. "Brother Teng, don't you want to pursue a girl and want us to give you advice?" Luo Yun and Zi Yang's eyes lit up, and they also laughed. "Brother Teng, you have come to your senses. You haven't had a girlfriend for 4 years in college. Now you are getting restless when you are about to graduate. Don't worry, as long as you say a word, the brothers will definitely be good wingmen and help you chase that girl. Guteng smiled helplessly and said, it's not about this. I won't pretend anymore. I'm going to show my cards. In fact, I'm a martial arts master. Luo Yun and the other two didn't understand for a while. Brother Teng, we definitely know that you are good at martial arts. We took the martial arts training videos for you this month. Guteng continued to explain, I'm not talking about martial arts, but martial arts. Blood martial arts. Guteng turned on the computer and played a video, which was Mingyan. The same blood key martial arts as what Mingyan said. As he said that, Guteng picked up the dumbbells that Li Qiang used for exercise in the corner of the dormitory. Crack, crack, crack with a harsh sound. Guteng actually pinched a mark on the dumbbell disc with his bare hands. Luo Yun, Li Qiang and others were so shocked that their eyes almost popped out. The three of them became dumb for a while, not knowing what to say. After a moment, Luo Yun's eyes lit up. Brother Teng, my dear brother, I want to learn this. Li Qiang and Zi Yang were also very excited. Guteng smiled slightly. Don't worry, I'm going to show you today, just to teach you to practice blood key martial arts. But the matter of practice must not be revealed to the outside. Luo Yun and the other two nodded repeatedly. Don't worry, Brother Teng, we will never tell anyone. Chapter 80, Chaos. The 503rd year of the Wu Dynasty. Wujing City, the originally prosperous capital city, now seemed a little panicked. The common people did not dare to stay outside for too long, and the dignitaries who came and went were also in a hurry. The sun had not yet completely set, and there were not many people on the streets. On the main avenue, Lei Kang, riding a horse and wearing silver armor, looked at the slightly depressed scene around him and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. In recent years, natural disasters have occurred frequently in various states, such as droughts, floods, and earthquakes, and the people's harvests have been getting worse year by year. But the taxes of the court are getting heavier year by year. Corrupt officials are everywhere. In some places, the taxes of the people have been collected for decades, but they have been squeezed dry. Lei Kang shook his head. No wonder the White Lotus sect, Bishop Ya and other cults attracted a large number of believers as soon as they appeared. Natural disasters, man-made disasters, internal and external troubles. Lei Kang sighed in his heart. The Wu dynasty has been supported for so long, and it is time to collapse. When Lei Kang just participated in the martial arts examination and became the top scholar, he predicted that the Wu dynasty had signs of demise. But although the Wu dynasty in the past seemed to be in a shaky situation and had internal and external troubles, the foundation was still strong, and it remained strong for nearly 30 years. After all, a centipede is dead but not stiff. Now Lei Kang is in his 40s. His strength has now reached the 5th level of martial arts, blood like a dragon, and he is only one step away from the strongest 6th level in this world. In the past 30 years, many things have happened. Especially in recent years, due to frequent natural disasters and rampant man-made disasters, people in the 13 states of the Wu dynasty have raised the flag of rebellion. Of course, most of the rebellions are small fights. Ordinary people can't live anymore, and the officials force the people to rebel. They were easily pacified by the army of the Wu dynasty. However, there are also a few rebellions with greater momentum, and the scope of the rebellion is also wide. Among them, the most powerful are the three major sects of the White Lotus sect, the Bishop of Ya, and the Zoroastrianism mentioned by Lei Kang. From the name, it can be seen that this is a rebellion team led by time travelers. Each of them has been secretly spreading among the people for more than 10 years. In recent years, they took advantage of the natural disasters and the people's miserable lives to raise their arms and shout and raise the flag of rebellion. Of course, the most important point that these time travelers dared to rebel is that after more than 10 years of dormancy, their strength has reached the 5th heaven, which is not much weaker than Lei Kang. After all, the Tianyuan continent is a world where warriors are supreme, and it is not just any cat or dog who dares to rebel. You should know that, since the great changes in the world a few decades ago, the vitality of the world has increased greatly and become easier to absorb. Countless warriors have broken through the bottleneck and entered a high realm. The top masters of the sixth heaven, which were originally rare on the Tianyuan continent, have increased a lot. There are at least 1 or 200 such top warriors in the world. There are nearly 100 in the Wu dynasty alone. Among them, less than 30%, about 20 to 30, serve the court. As for the warriors of the fifth heaven, there are more in the Wu dynasty. If the anti-thief forces with greater momentum, such as the White Lotus sect and Bishop Yap, are not strong enough, they will be sent by the human king to carry out the beheading operation, and kill them within a few days, after raising the banner of rebellion. Therefore, they dare to raise the banner of rebellion only after their strength reaches the fifth heaven, and they have to win the help of some top masters of the sixth heaven scattered among the people. For this reason, when they raise the banner of rebellion, they all have a slogan of rebellion. Rebellious remarks such as, "Are there any kings, princes, generals or ministers of different species? The sky is dead, the sun should be established, the year is Jazi, the world is auspicious, the stone man has one eye, and he stirs up the source river and the world," to rebel appeared one after another, because they spread all over the world quickly. Hearing these familiar words, Lei Kang immediately understood that behind these three sects were travelers like him. In fact, after working with Beihe for many years, Lei Kang guessed his identity as a traveler. Later, he gradually learned that those who were in the same military class as him and were of similar age as him might also be travelers. So Lei Kang was not surprised at all that the main messenger behind the three major sects was a traveler. He knew that there were many travelers from the ancestral star in this world, and they were not the first group of people to travel to the Tianyuan continent. Lei Kang was 90% sure that the human king who established the Wu dynasty 500 years ago was also a traveler. In this regard, Lei Kang could only sigh. This world is really popular. There are so many travelers. The topic returned to the three major rebellious sects. To some extent, these rebellious time travelers have been of great help to Lei Kang. Because of the anti-flag movement everywhere in the Wu dynasty, Lei Kang has been frequently sent out by the human king to quell the rebels and resist the invasion of the enemy army in recent years. The Wu dynasty was caught in war, and the surrounding hundreds of countries naturally would not miss this opportunity. They sent armies to attack the Wu dynasty and wanted to destroy it. With the credit for defeating the rebels and resisting the enemy, coupled with Lei Kang's current strength, he is also among the best in the Wu dynasty. Lei Kang's official position can be said to have risen all the way. Now Lei Kang is already the second-rank cavalry general of the Wu dynasty, commanding an army of 50,000 people. It can be said that Lei Kang's current status is one of the best in the entire Wu dynasty. Among military officers, he is second only to the position of general. As for civil officials, in the Wu dynasty, which was established by the military, the status of civil officials has always been lower than that of military officials. Among the civil officials, only the left and right prime ministers, the 3 dukes and 9 ministers have a higher status than Lei Kang. This time, Lei Kang entered Wujing City, but he received an order from the human king. The White Lotus sect of Kangshao attacked Yuanzhao and has captured more than 10 cities. Thinking of the secret report from the spies in the palace last night, Lei Kang's eyes were deep. Does the human king want me to go to Yuanzhao to fight against the White Lotus sect? Now, dozens of rebel forces led by the 3 major sects are spread all over the Wu dynasty. Among them, the situation in 7 states is the most corrupt, and it is the key area where the Wu dynasty army and the rebels fight. The White Lotus sect, the Bishop of Yap, and the Fire Worship sect each occupy a state, and their arrogance is extremely arrogant. Yuanzhao is located in the former Nankang jungle, adjacent to Xinzhao and Kangshao. If Yuanzhao also falls into the pocket of the White Lotus sect, then the next step is to attack Xinzhao and Wujing City. At that time, the human king will be in trouble. So the human king will never let the White Lotus sect occupy Yuanzhao. There are not many people in the Wu dynasty who are powerful and good at leading troops in battle. Lei Kang is the most powerful one. This is a military strategy obtained from many years of fighting on the battlefield. Therefore, the first general that the human king thought of who could fight against the White Lotus sect was Lei Kang. The human king probably wants to send me to attack the White Lotus sect and take back control of those cities in Yuanzhao. Lei Kang narrowed his eyes slightly. I should take this opportunity to ask the human king for more troops, military funds and food. The Wu dynasty is about to end, and I should also make some worst case plans. Chapter 81, The Fall of Wujing City. Please read and vote. Lei Kang entered the palace to meet the human king. Nearly 30 years had passed, and the human king, who had been addicted to alcohol and sex for many years, had not yet passed away. However, his days were numbered. As expected by Lei Kang, the human king summoned him to lead his troops to conquer the White Lotus Rebellion and drive them out of Yuanzhou. Of course, if Lei Kang could break into Kangzhou and completely wipe out the White Lotus Rebellion, that would be even better. Lei Kang also took this opportunity to ask the human king for a large amount of military funds and food, and also asked for an additional 50,000 soldiers and horses. Moreover, among these 50,000 soldiers and horses, there were 1,000 dragoons directly under the human king. They could be said to be the elite of the elite in this increasingly corrupt Wu dynasty army, and they still maintained a strong combat power. These requests were met by the human king one by one, and he directly gave Lei Kang a military token that could mobilize another 50,000 soldiers and horses, and 1,000 dragoons. Then in the morning court the next day, the human king announced to all officials that he had appointed Lei Kang as the general of suppressing rebellion to quell the rebellion of the Yuanzhou rebellion. None of the officials questioned or admonished Lei Kang's appointment, because the court of the Wu dynasty has long respected the followers of Lei Kang's faction. This can be seen from the fact that Lei Kang received a secret report last night and knew the reason why the king of humanity summoned him. The palace is also full of Lei Kang's pawns. Officials from other factions dared to be angry, but dared not speak out. What's more, the fight against the rebels is a major event of the court, and they have no reason to stop the king of humanity from appointing Lei Kang and making Lei Kang more powerful. I obey your order. Lei Kang, who was wearing armor and attending court, took the imperial edict from the internal officials. Then Lei Kang rushed to the military camp outside the city of Wujing without stopping. The major affairs of the country are sacrifices and wars. From ancient times to the present, sacrifices and wars are inseparable. Before going to war, Lei Kang, according to custom, sacrificed to the gods and issued a manifesto to fight against the rebels, to boost the morale of the army. Go to war. Lei Kang, riding a tall horse, looked solemn, raised his arm and waved, ordering the army to set off for Yuanzhou. 100,000 soldiers and horses moved together, rushing towards Yuanzhou in a mighty manner. Behind them, there were hundreds of thousands of corvée civilians who provided food and grass for the army. Lei Kang looked at the dragoons on one side of the army, thinking about how to bring them under his command. We need to find an opportunity. When Lei Kang led the army to Yuanzhou to fight against the White Lotus rebels, and just when he took back two cities from the White Lotus rebels, the armies of the three nomadic peoples of the northern grasslands, Qiu State, Milan State, and Diju State, broke through the border and went south to plunder all the way. You must know that natural disasters have occurred frequently in recent years, and it is not only the Wu dynasty that has been affected. The northern grasslands have also suffered a lot of losses. The grassland pastures have withered piece by piece due to drought, and the production of cattle, sheep and horses has decreased greatly. So in order to survive, these three grassland nomadic peoples have invaded the Wu dynasty Yaozhou area in recent years. The Wu dynasty did not have a building like the Great Wall that was specifically designed to resist nomadic peoples. Over the years, the armies of the three nomadic countries have taken a lot of food and population from Yaozhou of the Wu dynasty with the speed advantage of cavalry. Now the Wu dynasty has a total of 700,000 to 800,000 soldiers and horses, but most of them are distributed in the land and borders of various states, commanded by the governors and generals of each state, to suppress local rebels and resist foreign invasions. Lei Kang can be said to have taken away most of the soldiers and horses of the Wu dynasty in Shenzhou this time. There are only less than 80,000 guards in and outside the city of Wujing to guard the capital. Moreover, these 80,000 guards have become their gilded land under the erosion of the powerful for hundreds of years, and the combat effectiveness of the army is worrying. After hearing about this, the senior officials of the grassland nomadic countries immediately realized that there was an opportunity to take advantage of. So they immediately gathered their troops and led them south again. They wanted to take this opportunity to rob and leave, but who knew that the army of the Wu dynasty was so rotten that they often collapsed in the face of their attacks. Seeing this situation, the kings of the three grassland countries were overjoyed and became much bolder. They attacked the hinterland of Yaozhou from the north and headed straight for Shenzhou. The ferocity of the grassland army frightened the king of Man, and he quickly ordered the governors of each state to lead their troops to protect the emperor. Even Lei Kang, who was fighting against the rebels, received an imperial edict to lead 100,000 troops back quickly. God helps me. Yuan Cao, Kanghang City, City Lord's Mansion. Lei Kang slapped the secret report in his hand on the table and laughed. It was written that the three grassland countries sent troops to Wujing City and Shenzhou. At this moment, the edict of the King of Man asking Lei Kang and the governors of each state to urgently protect the emperor had just left Wujing City. This shows how powerful the intelligence system Lei Kang has mastered is, which can be said to be all over the world. Exclamation mark. You want us to go and protect the emperor? Lei Kang sneered, his eyes flickering, as if he was thinking of a strategy. It's time for a change of dynasty in this world. King of Man, it's time to change someone. The people in the City Lord's Mansion are all Lei Kang's confidants, and Lei Kang is not afraid that this will be spread out. Inform the Shadow Guards to persuade the rebels in various places to send troops to delay the troops of various states and prevent them from going to rescue the King of Man so quickly. Lei Kang's face was grim. I want the King of Man to die. Yes. Lei Kang launched all the secret forces he had accumulated for 20 to 30 years. Not long after, the rebellion of Bishop Yap, Zoroastrianism and other rebels increased greatly, and wars broke out everywhere. The troops of the governors and generals of various states were exhausted and constantly fighting with the rebels in various places. Lei Kang's side was the same. He ordered troops to attack the territory of the White Lotus sect overnight, intending to attack Kangzhou in one fell swoop. When the messenger sent by the King of Man arrived for help, Lei Kang's army was fighting with the White Lotus sect. What? The three grassland countries have invaded in a large scale and have broken through Yaozhou and entered Shenzhou? Lei Kang, who received the imperial edict, was shocked and repeatedly expressed his intention to withdraw his troops to protect the king. However, the White Lotus sect's offensive was fierce, and most of Lei Kang's army was held back by the White Lotus sect and could not escape. In desperation, Lei Kang could only choose to lead 30,000 troops to return to the rescue. The remaining 70,000 troops, especially the 1,000 dragoons, stayed behind to resist the White Lotus sect. But even these 20,000 troops were harassed by a small group of rebels from time to time on the way back to the rescue, and the marching speed could not be improved. When Lei Kang led the army back to Shenzhou, less than 100 miles away from Wujing City, a piece of bad news came. Wujing City was broken. The King of Man was trapped in the palace. Lei Kang was shocked on the surface and led the army to Wujing City to protect the emperor. In fact, he sneered in his heart. Although the guards of Wujing City were rotten, there were also many martial arts masters. It was impossible for them to be broken by the Grassland Three Kingdoms army that was not good at attacking cities in such a short time. This was naturally Lei Kang's handiwork. After all, only when the orthodox King of Man and the royal family of Wu dynasty died, Lei Kang had the opportunity to take over the legacy left by Wu dynasty. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82, Capital War. Please read and vote. As a time traveler, Lei Kang is not much different from the White Lotus sect and the Zoroastrianism. He has never been in awe of the royal power. Especially as he gained more and more power, Lei Kang's ambition naturally increased. As the saying goes, the emperor takes turns to sit, and it will be my turn next year. Since 500 years ago, the time traveler Guteng, the king of men, could establish a dynasty. Why can't he? Lei Kang? In Wujing City, Lei Kang has many followers, especially in the Imperial Guards, where Lei Kang has more confidants. After all, Lei Kang made his fortune from the Imperial Guards and has been operating in it for many years. 30 years of operation, only for today. Lei Kang had long ago told his confidants in the Imperial Guards to find an opportunity to open the city gates and let the army of the three grassland countries enter Wujing City. Looking at the flames in front of Wujing City, Lei Kang's eyes were cold. Fighting for hegemony in the world is a bloody road, and those who achieve great things must have a ruthless heart. All troops, attack. Rescue the human king. The 30,000-man army, which had been running for more than 100 miles, and exhausted from the journey, rested for a few minutes and then, under the leadership of Lei Kang, rushed to Wujing City. Although his troops were much smaller than the army of the three kingdoms of the grassland, the three kingdoms of the grassland were nomadic peoples, and were not good at street fighting. As long as Lei Kang's troops rushed into Wujing City, there would be a chance to fight with them. Moreover, the remaining guards stationed in Wujing City were not completely dead, and there were still many left. The most important thing is that the battle between the armies of Tianyuan continent still depends more on the strength of the top warriors on both sides. The gates of Wujing City were wide open, and there was burning, killing, and looting everywhere in the city. Wujing City, which had never suffered from war for 500 years, had become a purgatory on earth at this moment. The soldiers of the three kingdoms of the grassland laughed wildly and rushed into the homes of the people to rob money and kill. On every street, the soldiers of the three kingdoms of the grassland in the Wu dynasty guards engaged in fierce street fighting. From time to time, warriors from both sides would rush out to fight, and their powerful strength would be displayed with every move, knocking down the surrounding houses. Lei Kang took the lead and rushed into Wujing City. He swept through thousands of troops with a long spear, and no one could stop him wherever he went. Countless soldiers from the three kingdoms of the grassland died under his spear. Some warriors of the fourth heaven and the three kingdoms of the grassland wanted to stop Lei Kang, but they were not a match for Lei Kang's few moves. Seeing a warrior who had been famous in the northern grassland for a long time, Lei Kang easily killed him. The faces of the warriors and soldiers around changed, knowing that this was a warrior of the fifth heaven, who could not be stopped by ordinary soldiers and warriors, and they did not dare to take action again. Lei Kang led his army and swept all the way to the central palace. At this moment, the palace also became a battlefield. Tens of thousands of soldiers gathered inside and outside the walls of the palace, fighting frantically, and blood dyed the solemn palace red. On the battlefield, there were several areas where no one approached. There, warriors with blood and ki flowing out of their bodies like a rolling river were fighting fiercely. They were the 6th level warriors of the Wu dynasty and the three kingdoms of the grassland. It is true that there are 20 to 36th level warriors in the Wu dynasty, but because of the rebellion and the surrounding countries taking advantage of the situation, most of the 6th level warriors were sent to various places to prevent the 6th level warriors of other countries from invading. Therefore, there are no more than 10 6th level warriors in Wujing City all year round. This time, the three kingdoms of the grassland went out to plunder the Wu dynasty, and it can be said that they came out in full force. There are also 7 or 8 6th level warriors in their three countries, which is not much less than the top warriors in Wujing City. The most important thing is that among the 6th level warriors of the three kingdoms, there is also a 4th strongest warrior in the world. Crazy Eagle, Eagle Changkang. Eagle Changkang's strength has reached the peak of the 6th level, and ordinary 6th level warriors are not his opponents at all. In order to hold him back, 3 Wu dynasty warriors of the 6th level fought with him. As soon as Lei Kang rushed into the palace, he saw the scene of their battle. The warriors of the 6th level are indeed the strongest in this world. With a wave of his arms, he can exert the power of hundreds of tripods. If they fall on the wall, they can instantly smash a big hole. If they hit ordinary people, they may be smashed into meat paste. And their speed is so fast that ordinary people can't keep up with it. This is why no one dared to approach them. The top warriors of the Wu dynasty were overjoyed when they saw Lei Kang leading his army back to rescue. General Lei, quickly enter the palace to protect His Majesty the Human King. The people of the three grassland countries have gone to surround and kill the Human King, I understand. Lei Kang promised and prepared to rush into the palace. But how could the warriors of the three grassland countries let Lei Kang have his way? They immediately had a 5th level warrior appear and confront Lei Kang. If you want to go over, you have to see if the scimitar in my hand agrees. A grassland warrior laughed, the scimitar in his hand, flashed with a cold luster, and rushed towards Lei Kang. Lei Kang's eyes were cold, blood and energy surged in his body, and his spine was like a dragon. His spear tore through the air, and stabbed forward casually. But this simple stab was so perfect and flawless. It easily broke the grassland warrior's scimitar attack, and stabbed into his body with undiminished power, killing him. Aing Changkong, who was fighting, happened to see this scene, and was a little surprised. The spearmanship of the realm of unity of man and nature? I didn't expect that a warrior of the 5th heaven could actually comprehend the unity of man and nature. Aing Changkong's eyes were full of admiration. When this person enters the 6th heaven, he will definitely become one of the top 10 strong men in the world. It's just that the enemy's hero is my enemy. After seeing Lei Kang's potential, Aing Changkong naturally couldn't let him grow into the top 10 in the world. Aing Changkong defeated 3 Wu Dynasty 6th heaven warriors with one strike, and then he shot out, rushing to Lei Kang to kill him. Lei Kang noticed Aing Changkong's thoughts. His face suddenly changed, and he roared, and used his strongest spear skills. Heaven and man are one, man and spear are one. Bang! Lei Kang's figure smashed into the palace wall like a kite with a broken string, and blood kept spurting out of his mouth. But fortunately, his life was saved. The strongest attack he just played was already at the level of a 6th heaven warrior. Aing Changkong was about to continue to finish off the opponent. Unfortunately, the 3 top warriors of Wu Dynasty never gave him another chance. What a close call. Lei Kang, with a pale face, was still in shock. The warriors of the 6th heaven are too strong. After all, this world still believes in force. Lei Kang's eyes were cold. As long as this plan succeeds, I can use the treasures of the Wu Dynasty to successfully enter the 6th heaven. Calculating the time, the human king should have passed away. While Lei Kang was thinking in his mind, his blood and energy circulated in his body, forcibly suppressing his injuries. Then Lei Kang attacked in anger and slaughtered the warriors of the 3 grassland countries. Originally, the strength of the Wu Dynasty and the 3 grassland countries was equal, and the battle situation was deadlocked. But now, because of the appearance of Lei Kang, who has the combat power of the general 6th heaven, this situation was broken. One by one, the grassland warriors of the 5th heaven were killed by Lei Kang. There was even a battle in the 6th heaven, and the warriors of the grassland were almost killed because of Lei Kang. Seeing this scene, Aing Changkong and others knew very well that they had to withdraw their troops. Chapter 83, using the king to rule the world. The 3 prairie kingdoms withdrew their troops and quickly left Wujing City with a large amount of looted money and people. After all, Lei Kang led a large army to come, and it is believed that the troops and strong men from other states of Wu Dynasty will arrive soon. If they stay in Wujing City, they may be wiped out by the Wu Dynasty army. In order to prevent the Wu Dynasty army from chasing them when they retreat, the top warriors of the 3 prairie kingdoms all stayed behind to cover their retreat. Once a large army came, they would create an opportunity for the army of the 3 prairie kingdoms to escape. But their worries were obviously unnecessary. At this moment, Lei Kang and others were in no mood to chase them. The major events that happened in the palace made them unable to escape. The human king has passed away! Exclamation mark. When Lei Kang rushed to a palace in the palace, what came into view was the solemn guards and the crying concubines and the harem. In the middle of the concubines, the human king lay motionless on the dragon bed. In his head, there was an arrow. It turned out that just before the 3 grassland kingdoms withdrew their troops, the warriors of the 3 grassland kingdoms who had entered the palace shot an arrow at the king in the chaos. This arrow was so powerful that it actually went through the shields of the surrounding guards and hit the king's head directly. Your Majesty, Lei Kang shouted sadly, with a few tears squeezed out of the corners of his eyes. I'm a guilty minister who came late to save you, and failed your Majesty's grace. The only way for me to apologize is to die. Clang. As Lei Kang spoke, he took a sharp sword from the hand of a guard beside him, and made a gesture to commit suicide to thank the king for his grace. Seeing this, several other 6th level warriors of the Wu Dynasty hurriedly stopped Lei Kang's action. The surviving officials around him also shouted again and again. General Lei, you can't do that. Now that the human king has passed away, Wujing City is in ruins. The court needs a pillar of the court like you to take charge of the overall situation. Yes, General Lei. You must stay useful and protect our Wu dynasty. The incident happened suddenly. You were thousands of miles away from home fighting against the rebels. How could you have predicted that the three kingdoms of the grassland would invade the land of China? The situation was deadlocked for a few times, and Lei Kang was persuaded by the officials to no longer use death to wash away the fault of failing to save the emperor. In front of the civil and military officials, countless guards and top warriors, Lei Kang swore a blood oath. One day, I, the sinner, will lead the army to flatten the three kingdoms of the grassland and avenge your majesty. To avenge the fall of Wujing City of our Wu dynasty. Hearing this, everyone's eyes showed a strong hatred. In this battle between the three kingdoms of the grassland, I don't know how many people of the Wu dynasty were killed, and even the human king was killed by their soldiers. It can be said that the three kingdoms of the grassland in the Wu dynasty have forged a blood feud. But the next moment, Lei Kang changed his tone. The world cannot be without a ruler for a day. The Wu dynasty is full of rebels, and we need a new human king to take charge of the situation. Lei Kang looked at an old man in official uniform. Prime Minister Yu, where is His Royal Highness the Crown Prince? We need to quickly support His Royal Highness the Crown Prince to ascend the throne. Prime Minister Yu looked sad. General Lei, shortly after the three grassland kingdoms broke into Wujing City, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince encountered a grassland army on his way from the East Palace to the Imperial Palace. Unfortunately, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince passed away. What? Lei Kang's face was shocked, but his heart was very calm, because he knew the news not long after he entered Wujing City. Speaking of it, the death of the human king and the crown prince were all planned by Lei Kang. But in the eyes of the world, they died in the war with the three grassland kingdoms. This generation of the Wu dynasty crown prince is also unlucky. He has been the crown prince for more than 40 years, and he saw the opportunity to become the human king, but he died. This is the characteristic of the Wu dynasty. Under normal circumstances, the crown prince of the Wu dynasty often has to sit on this seat for decades before he has a chance to ascend the throne of the human king. The worst case is the son of the first generation of the human king, Guteng. He was the crown prince until his death, and he was the crown prince for nearly 100 years. In the end, he died before Guteng. There was no way, because Guteng was a warrior of the sixth heaven, and his lifespan was much longer than that of ordinary people and low-level warriors. Let's get back to the point. The human king passed away, and the crown prince died. In desperation, Lei Kang and the officials could only choose other royal family members as the human king. In this turmoil of the three kingdoms on the grassland, countless royal relatives of the Wu dynasty were killed and injured, but many survived. There are no less than 20 children of the human king alone, who told the human king to spend more than 40 years in power and debauchery, and he didn't know how many children he had bred. In the end, Lei Kang and his followers selected a 15-year-old prince as the next human king. The news of the death of the human king spread quickly throughout the 13 states of the Wu dynasty. The rebels from all over the country were extremely excited when they heard the news. They took advantage of the chaotic situation to lead their troops to capture cities and occupy larger territories. The Travisses of the White Lotus sect, the Fire Worship sect, and the Bishop of Ya claimed that this was the judgment of the tyrant and incompetent human king by the gods behind them. The Wu dynasty had lost its destiny and was no longer qualified to rule the 13 states. Rumors were flying everywhere, making the entire Wu dynasty panic. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that the Wu dynasty was really helpless. Its demise was a foregone conclusion. Some of the noble families and sects that were still waiting and watching also took this opportunity to raise the banner of rebellion and wanted to dominate the world. Before, the situation in only 7 states of the Wu dynasty was relatively corrupt, and the rebels in the other states were just small fights and not enough evidence. But now, except for Shenzhou, the situation in the other 5 states has gradually become more chaotic. Information from all states in the world came to Lei Kang in piles through his secret intelligence system, Lei Mansion. Lei Kang looked at the information, but he was not panicked at all. Because he had already laid out Tianyuan Star and Kangshao, he could take the land of these two states at any time, as long as he wanted. Yes, Kangshao, which was occupied by the White Lotus sect, was his territory in Lei Kang's eyes. Because Lei Kang's sworn brother, Bei of the Bei family in Kangshao, was a high-ranking member of the White Lotus sect, the emergence of the White Lotus sect was closely related to Lei Kang. And if you count Lei Kang's current identity, the three positions of the general, the tutor, and the prime minister, he is truly under one person, and above 10,000 people. He can now use the power of the new king of men to command the officials and armies of the states who are still willing to be loyal to the Wu dynasty. This is to use the king of men to command the world. These rebels are not in a hurry to be annihilated. What I need to do now is to break through to the 6th heaven. Looking at the seal of the king of men in his hand, Lei Kang's eyes flashed with excitement. It is indeed a treasure that was once obtained by the former Martial Ancestor and the first generation of human king. It can actually enhance people's understanding and wisdom. I think that the Martial Ancestor and the Human King were able to open up the 6th level of the Blood Key martial arts, and this item played an indispensable role. Chapter 84 New Martial Arts Realm Concept. The Human King seal has been deliberately concealed by the royal family for hundreds of years. Few people in Tianyuan continent know its original origins. After all, the royal family of the Wu dynasty did not want the Human King seal to be coveted by those powerful warriors in the world every day. The world only knows that this is the symbol of the Human King of the Wu dynasty. Whoever possesses a Human King seal is qualified to become the Human King above 10,000 people, and is the orthodoxy of the Wu dynasty. But many years ago, Lei Kang was fortunate to obtain a fragment of an ancient book from another country that was more than 400 years old, from which he learned the true origin of the Human King seal. He knew that in ancient times, it was called the JB of martial arts, and was the thing of the founder of the blood martial arts, Martial Ancestor. He knew that after the Martial Ancestor, it was the inheritance of the common masters of the world in successive generations, and it had the unique effect of helping warriors practice. So when he knew that the three kingdoms of the grassland had made their way into Shinzhou, Lei Kang planned to take this opportunity to obtain the Human King seal. The plan went smoothly, and Lei Kang did successfully obtain the Human King seal. The one in the palace now is just a fake one made by Lei Kang. Anyway, except for the Human King and the prince who was originally going to ascend the throne, no one knows the true effect of the Human King seal. In the eyes of the civil and military officials, the Human King seal is only used to stamp and issue decrees. So Lei Kang's substitution operation went smoothly. With this Human King seal, that increases wisdom and understanding, plus the large amount of yuan shi and blood and flesh of exotic beasts in the palace treasury, as well as the countless martial arts and cultivation experience of predecessors in the sutra library, I will be able to quickly step into the blood and key river of the 6th heaven. The powerful Lei Kang can now enter and exit the sutra library of the palace freely. This is a privilege given to him by the new Human King. In addition, he can also take some yuan shi and blood and flesh of exotic beasts from the palace treasury at will. Originally, the reserves of yuan shi in Tianyuan continent were not many, and after nearly 1,000 years of mining, they were almost exhausted. Exotic beasts can only be encountered in the wild mountains and wilderness, where few people are, and they will be quickly killed by warriors who hear the news. But 30 years ago, the world underwent a huge change, and the vitality of the world increased several times. This not only made it easier and faster for human warriors to practice, but also gave birth to many strange beasts and many yuan shi veins. The large-scale appearance of strange beasts is also one of the natural disasters, and is a major factor in the accelerated destruction of the Wu dynasty. Lei Kang held the Human King seal, and entered a deep level of practice. In this state, countless insights and ideas about martial arts burst out of his mind. The puzzles in the past were solved one by one. So that's how it is. There is actually such a perspective. My gun skills still have room for improvement. It turns out that the mystery of the Danshan acupoints is here. In the following days, Lei Kang handled government affairs while practicing. Now he does not have too much energy to deal with the rebels and traitors who are rampant everywhere. So the generals he sent out mainly focus on defense and keep the existing Wu dynasty territories and cities. In a blink of an eye, half a year passed, and Lei Kang successfully opened up the mystery of Danshan and several acupoints, and entered the 6th level of martial arts, the realm of blood and energy like a river. Lei Kang was 20 years old when he entered the 4th level of martial arts. When he entered the 5th heaven, he was 30 years old. It was not until he was 47 that Lei Kang entered the 6th heaven. He was trapped in the 5th heaven for 17 years. In addition to the fact that the 5th heaven requires tempering one's own bone marrow, which requires a little bit of practice, it does take longer than the previous realms. Another reason is that the method of breaking through the 6th heaven has been blocked by the royal family of the Wu dynasty and the major sects in the martial arts world. Lei Kang has never been able to obtain it. But now, Lei Kang has finally entered the 6th heaven, become the strongest among the Tianyuan continent. Moreover, Lei Kang has also comprehended the spearmanship of the realm of harmony between man and nature, and his strength is also the most famous and wealthy in the 6th heaven. As Aing Chang Kang said before, if Lei Kang enters the 6th heaven, his strength can squeeze into the top 10 in the world. However, after entering the 6th heaven, Lei Kang can feel that this is not the end of the bloody martial arts, and there should be new realms above the 6th heaven. According to the handwritten notes left by the 6th level warriors of the martial arts dynasties in the scripture pavilion, if you want to make a breakthrough above the 6th level of martial arts, you may need to understand the mystery of the soul. In the martial arts arena of the Lei Mansion, Lei Kang lowered his eyes and thought about the knowledge he had learned from the scripture pavilion. I don't agree with this. The way of cultivation pursues strength and lifespan beyond mortals, and how can humans compare with heaven and earth in these two aspects? Blood and Ki martial arts. Blood and Ki martial arts. The first 6 levels of martial arts are to cultivate human blood and Ki, and gradually enhance one's own strength. Now that the treasures of the human body have been almost dug out, it seems impossible to increase human blood and Ki. So I think the key to creating a new realm of martial arts lies in the word Tao. The Tao Te Ching of Zuxing said that the Tao that can be spoken is not the real Tao. This Tao is heaven and earth, nature, and all things in the universe. Lei Kang looked up at the clear sky. His eyes were unusually deep. If we can use the Tao, or the power of heaven and earth, for our own benefit, the strength of a warrior will undergo a tremendous change. But how do we integrate the power of heaven and earth into the martial arts? Even Lei Kang, who had the king's seal to bless his comprehension, still couldn't figure this out. Lei Kang would think of the various classics he had read in the past on the ancestral star. The Tao is too profound, far beyond the comprehension and mastery of mortal like me. Perhaps only gods are qualified to say that they have mastered the complete Tao. Lei Kang pondered, perhaps I should start from a more subtle place and practice step by step. The Tao is everything, and spearmanship is also a kind of Tao. Lei Kang performed the extreme thunder spearmanship over and over again in the martial arts arena. Of course, after Lei Kang's deduction and improvement over the years, the extreme thunder spearmanship has become a 6th grade martial art. Lei Kang entered the realm of unity between man and nature with his whole body and mind. His heart and spear were in harmony. He felt the subtleties in the spear and wanted to use the spearmanship to enter the Tao. However, Lei Kang's progress was limited by practicing spearmanship by himself. It seems that I still need to find some strong people of the same realm to fight. By fighting and sparring with other warriors, Lei Kang can also absorb other special insights from them that he can't think of, which has the effect of honing his spear skills. After all, there must be a teacher among 3 people. But before that, I need to pacify the world and end this chaotic world. After half a year, Lei Kang, who had achieved success in cultivation, finally came out of retreat. He no longer stayed in Wujing City, but personally led the army to start the crusade against the rebels. The 13 states of the Wu dynasty have been in chaos for many years, and it is time to usher in an end. Lei Kang led the 150,000 troops of the Wu dynasty from Shenzhou, first entered Yuanzhou, wiped out the small group of rebels there, and then entered his hometown Jiangzhou. There is a tendency to pacify the 13 states in one fell swoop. Chapter 85, 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west. Lei Kang went out to conquer the rebels in the world. At the first stop, Yuanzhou, he joined his tens of thousands of direct troops and wiped out the small rebels in Yuanzhou. Lei Kang's second stop was his hometown, Jiangzhou. The Wu dynasty has been passed down for more than 500 years, and the class has long been solidified. Each state is managed by the major martial arts families. Jiangzhou is no exception. The former governor of Jiangzhou was Duan Yan of the Duan family, and the current governor is still Duan Feng from the Duan family. After learning that Lei Kang led the army to Jiangzhou to suppress the bandits, Duan Feng hurriedly led people to meet him outside the city. Unfortunately, what the Duan family was waiting for was a butcher's knife. Before Lei Kang's army entered Jiangzhou city, they were all in a friendly state. But as soon as the army entered the city, they replaced the soldiers on the walls of Jiangzhou city with a lightning speed, and took over the defense of the city. And Lei Kang personally led 5,000 soldiers and horses to surround the city lord's mansion and the Duan family. Duan Feng, the governor who was being escorted by soldiers, and had his blood sealed, was anxious and shouted, "General Lei, what are you doing? I'm an official appointed by the court, the governor of Jiangzhou. How can you humiliate me like this?" Lei Kang's eyes were cold, and he took out an imperial edict. The king of Man has ordered that the Duan family in Jiangzhou has stored up food and grass, hidden weapons and armor, and privately raised soldiers. And they have correspondence with the traitor White Lotus sect, trying to rebel, which is a heinous crime. The king of Man ordered me to wipe out the entire Duan family, confiscate the family property. In the heavily guarded inner wall of the Duan family, the Duan family members and the servants and private soldiers showed despair in their eyes. The Jiaiwei was founded by the king of Wu dynasty in the past 6 months. It is specially used for reconnaissance, arrest, interrogation and other activities, as well as participating in the work of collecting military intelligence and inciting enemy generals to rebel. In fact, it is the shadow guard in Lei Kang's hand. The Duan family did have correspondence with the White Lotus sect, but it was far from the point of rebellion. The above crimes were all fabricated by Lei Kang. After all, the White Lotus sect was actually Lei Kang's subordinate, and it was easy to fabricate some treasonous crimes. After all, the Duan family was one of the most powerful families in Jiangzhou. If you want to destroy it, you still have to pay attention to a legitimate reason. Duan Yan's eyes were red with anger, and he shouted, "Lei Kang, you are abusing your power for personal gain, and avenging the grudges between me and you." Lei Kang sneered, 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west, don't bully the poor young. Duan Yan, could you have predicted your fate 30 years ago? After the military state examination that year, Lei Kang almost died several times at the hands of the assassins sent by Duan Yan. The two sides have deep resentment. It's just that Lei Kang's power and strength were not enough before, so he couldn't take revenge on Duan Yan and the Duan family. But now, Lei Kang is powerful, and his words can decide the life and death of millions of people, and his strength has reached the 6th level. The old grudges are naturally coming to an end. Shoot. Lei Kang didn't continue to talk nonsense, and directly ordered the archers to release arrows. Arrows rained down, one after another, shooting into the Duan family, and screams rang out from inside. The weak clansmen and servants of the Duan family were all shot to death by the endless stream of arrows. There are many martial arts masters in the Duan family who want to lead the direct line of the Duan family to break through the siege. Duan Xian'ai, who had fought with Lei Kang in the state test in the past, was among them. At this moment, he was only in the 4th heaven. But Lei Kang's men were not short of strong men, and with the addition of the army, the people of the Duan family were stopped one after another. A warrior of the 6th heaven? Looking at the strongest person in the Duan family, Lei Kang sneered. The next moment, Lei Kang's figure was as fast as lightning, and he rushed directly into the battle group to meet the ancestor of the Duan family. The ancestor of the Duan family broke through in recent years with the help of the increase in the concentration of heaven and earth's vitality. His strength is only average in the 6th heaven. So when he met Lei Kang, a 6th heaven warrior who had reached the state of unity between man and nature, he was no match at all. Puff. After more than 100 moves, Lei Kang's spear caught a floor and directly pierced the heart of the ancestor of the Duan family and exploded. The ancestor of the Duan family stared with wide eyes and spurted out a large amount of blood from his mouth. He suffered such a heavy blow, but he did not die immediately. His vigorous blood temporarily replaced the function of the heart and continued the difficult battle. This time, the ancestor of the Duan family risked his life and no longer thought about defense. He wanted to use his life to fight a bloody way for the Duan family. The vitality of a 6th level warrior is indeed vigorous. Even if the heart is shattered, he still did not die immediately. Lei Kang praised, but his spear skills did not stop. The ancestor of the Duan family had his heart shattered, which was equivalent to the blood furnace being gone. His strength suddenly dropped greatly. How could he resist Lei Kang's attack? After a few more moves, the ancestor of the Duan family's head exploded like a watermelon, and he was deader than dead. Seeing the death of the ancestor of the Duan family, the rest of the Duan family showed despair. They had no hope of escape. The Duan family is now expelled from the list. After the demise of the Duan family, Lei Kang's butcher knife did not stop. All the noble families and martial arts sects in Jiangzhou city that had close relations with the Duan family were cleansed by Lei Kang. The charges were all treason and rebellion. A few days later, Lei Kang successfully took over all the affairs of Jiangzhou city and also obtained the huge wealth accumulated by the Duan family and the major Jiangzhou noble families and sects for hundreds of years. The money alone is worth no less than 300,000 silver dollars. You must know that as the first dynasty in the world, the Wu dynasty did not have many gold and silver mines explored in the territory. The productivity of mining was not large, and the number of coins minted was not large. The currency popular in the Wu dynasty was still mainly copper coins. I don't know how much of the people's fat and blood the Duan family has to plunder to get it. In addition, tens of thousands of acres of land and mountains of grain and grass under the names of the Duan family and other noble families and sects were also confiscated. Of course, the accounts shown to the king were only a small part, and the rest went into Lei Kang's pocket. After all, maintaining an army is very costly. Moreover, one of the important reasons for the demise of the Wu dynasty was the serious land annexation. Lei Kang's current actions are all preparations for the establishment of a dynasty in the future. He wants to eliminate the families and sects that annexed the land, redistribute the land, and alleviate social class contradictions. Let's get back to the point. After controlling Jiangzhou city and making sure that there was no worry in the rear, Lei Kang led the army to suppress the bandits. 2 months later, the most popular rebels in Jiangzhou were wiped out one by Lei Kang. Lei Kang went to Kangzhou, Lingzhou and Heizhou to fight against the rebels. Faced with Lei Kang's army, the rebels in these 3 states felt a lot of pressure. Under the alliance of the White Lotus sect, the rebels in the 3 states formed a coalition to try to stop Lei Kang's army. In the early stage, this strategy was indeed effective. Lei Kang's army was blocked outside Kangzhou and Lingzhou for a full 6 months. The armies of both sides were constantly fighting, and each suffered countless casualties. However, during a large-scale military battle, the White Lotus sect suddenly changed sides and joined Lei Kang's army to fight against other rebels. The rebels in Lingzhou and Heizhou were stunned. They could never have imagined that the leader on their side was actually Lei Kang's man. Chapter 86 Remarks on the release. This book will be on the shelves tomorrow at 12 noon. First of all, I would like to thank my editor Lan Guang for his insightful eyes and his ability to identify my book at first sight. Laughs. Secondly, I would like to thank all the readers for their support. It is because of your reading that this book can complete 4 rounds of recommendations. In fact, this book has been published before, which is why some readers say that the book looks familiar. However, I felt that I did not write well at that time, and there was something wrong with the outline, so I deleted the book and revised the outline before republishing it. In general, the data of this book is average, not as good as the best but better than the worst. When it is on the shelves tomorrow, at least 3 chapters should be published. There is no way that the author is a clumsy hand and the typing speed is not fast. Here I ask all the readers for the first order! Exclamation mark. Ask for monthly tickets! Exclamation mark. PS. I also sacrifice a few books of the creation flow here to absorb some of the luck of the big guys. I'm God, the leader of the creation flow novel. The protagonist travels back to 500 million years ago and becomes the beginning of everything. He created wisdom and life. He is the creator of all living things. Lord of the Multiverse, an alternative heavenly way article. The protagonist travels through time and becomes the earth consciousness of the world that devours the stars, leading the earth life to conquer the heavens and the worlds. Heavenly way starting from the world seed, a heavenly way article, a creation article. The protagonist becomes the heavenly way of a small world, creating all things in the universe. The protagonist is very high class. My Universe in a Bottle. Also a new book by an old-fashioned big shot in the creation flow, the author who feeds all mankind, the creation farming flow, the mastermind behind the scenes. PS2, let's sacrifice a few more novels of other types to absorb the luck. Purgatory Tribulation, the old-fashioned big shot Ni Kangshan returns to Kidian with a new work. Speaking of which, the author is also a fan of Ni Kangshan, his God of Killing and Spirit Realm are classics, absorbing a wave of big shot luck. The End of the World, I have one more keyword than others, a new book by the author of Dream Maker of All Worlds, with the same funny and interesting style. Finally, please subscribe. Please vote for the monthly ticket. There will be a free chapter later today. Chapter 87 Bloody Edict. With the help of the White Lotus sect and the Bei family, Lei Kang successfully took over Kangshao, Lingshao and Heizhao, and wiped out the rebels in them. Even most of the noble families were killed. Although they did not confiscate the family like the Duan family in Jiangshao, they also paid a lot of money, land, and food. Now Lei Kang completely controls the land of 6 states, which are the most fertile and prosperous areas of the Wu dynasty. In addition, among the other 7 states, 3 states are nominally under the Wu dynasty. Since then, in the eyes of the world, the general trend of the Wu dynasty has been determined. With the help of Lei Kang, the national destiny of the Wu dynasty has continued. The world praised Lei Kang as the minister of the revival of the Wu dynasty and the contemporary human king as the master of the revival, and sang praises for him. Lei Kang, who has established such military exploits, naturally received the promotion of the human king and was directly named Duke of Xia. But those who are interested can see that Lei Kang is ambitious. He is not limited to being a powerful minister with high power. The fact is indeed true. In the following years, Lei Kang did not rush to encircle and suppress the remaining 4 states that fell into the hands of the rebels. Instead, he began to issue decrees in the name of the human king, such as reducing taxes or even eliminating taxes for several years in various places, and providing disaster relief to the poor in areas affected by natural disasters. Let the people who have suffered from natural disasters, wars, and oppression by aristocratic families and corrupt officials for many years be able to recuperate. Slowly, Lei Kang's reputation among the people became higher and higher. The world only knows Lei Kang, the Duke of Xia, but does not know the name of the contemporary human king! Exclamation mark. This is the merits that overshadow the master. As the young human king grew up, he heard more and more rumors about Lei Kang, and naturally he became more and more dissatisfied with Lei Kang in his heart. What's more, under Lei Kang's intervention, the human king has never been able to rule the country. All matters of the court, big or small, need to pass through the hands of Lei Kang, the Duke of Xia, before they can be handed over to the human king for review. The decrees issued by the human king also need to pass through Lei Kang's hands before they can be issued. It can be said that Lei Kang is the regent in public. There are still 4 states that have not been pacified. If Lei Kang pacifies them and makes great contributions, won't he ask me for the title of king next? The contemporary king felt more and more uncomfortable when he thought of this. It can be said that Lei Kang was not his wish to be the Duke of Xia at the beginning. He also knew that being conferred such a high title at once would only lead to no more titles in the future. He originally wanted to confer Lei Kang a marquis or an earl, but under Lei Kang's manipulation and the memorials of the civil and military officials in the court, he was too young to refute at the time, and could only choose to confer him the title of Duke. If he is not satisfied, does he want my position as the king of men? At present, Lei Kang's achievements are greater than his master, and the contemporary king has the idea of killing him in his mind, just taking this opportunity to take back his power and truly become the revival master of the Wu dynasty. But Lei Kang is a top expert in the 6th level of martial arts. People say he is one of the top 10 in the world. It is not easy to kill him. As for mobilizing a large army to surround and kill Lei Kang, let's not talk about whether the human wave tactic will work on Lei Kang. The human king does not have an army at his disposal now. The military power of the Wu dynasty is basically in the hands of Lei Kang and his trusted generals. No, I still have a trump card. The human king thought of the 20 or 36th level warriors who were worshipped by the Wu dynasty. I don't believe that those people have been gathered by Lei Kang. There must be top warriors who are loyal to the Wu dynasty. As long as he can reach a line with a few top masters of the 6th level and get their support, then the human king will summon Lei Kang to enter the palace to meet. In the case of many to one, the human king still has hope of winning. Let's do it. The human king made up his mind to get rid of Lei Kang. So in the following days, the human king sought opportunities to meet the 6th level warriors of the Wu dynasty. Through indirect investigation, he really discovered that several warriors were loyal to the court and to him, the human king. They were also dissatisfied with Lei Kang's interference in government affairs. After all, the decrees issued by Lei Kang in recent years were indeed very good for the people. But it had a very bad impact on the families and sex of these warriors. Which warrior who could cultivate to the 6th level of heaven did not have a big force behind him? The human king was very excited and felt that these people were all worthy of being won over. The human king hurriedly wrote a bloody edict and asked his trusted eunuchs to deliver it to these people, telling them his plan to get rid of Lei Kang. After receiving the clear replies from the 7 6th level warriors, the human king was full of confidence. 7 6th level warriors, even if they are the strongest in the world, I'm afraid they will end up in regret. 3 months passed in a blink of an eye, and the human king finally found a suitable time to act. It was a dark and windy night. Lei Kang, who was cultivating in the Zhaoguogang mansion, suddenly received an edict from the human king, inviting him to the palace to discuss the major event of conquering the remaining 4 states of rebels. The matter of punishing the rebels has indeed been discussed many times in the court in recent years. The king of humanity and the civil and military officials all hope that Lei Kang can wipe out the rebels as soon as possible, otherwise give them time to wait for them to consolidate their own territory. Even if they recover it later, the Wu dynasty will have to rebuild it. But these suggestions were evaded by Lei Kang for various reasons. So at this moment, the king of humanity summoned Lei Kang to discuss this matter, and there was nothing suspicious about it. Lei Kang, wearing a sword on his waist, passed through the palace gates all the way, accompanied by only a few guards. As the most powerful person in the Wu dynasty, Lei Kang has the privilege of freely entering and leaving the palace with weapons. Of course, the sword on Lei Kang's waist is just a decoration. His exclusive weapon is still a spear, which is carried by a guard. After all, the spear is too long, and it is very indecent for Lei Kang to carry it himself, so naturally he has to let his men do it for him. Lei Kang came all the way to the Imperial Book Hall. Several guards were guarding outside the hall, and he walked in. Looking at the young man in the dragon robe in the Imperial Book Hall, Lei Kang bowed slightly and said, "Your Majesty." In name, Lei Kang was still a minister of the Wu dynasty, so he had to do this courtesy. But the human king ignored Lei Kang's salute and shouted, "Everyone, take action." As he said that, the human king hurriedly retreated to prevent being affected by the war. While retreating, the human king said loudly, "Lei Kang, you are a traitor who is ambitious and dares to touch the sacred artifact of the country. Today is the day you will be buried." Boom. The blood and energy around him rushed to the sky, setting off a rolling heat wave. At this time, Lei Kang finally noticed the 7 6th level warriors hiding in the dark corner of the Imperial Book Hall. Lei Kang's face was slightly condensed, but he was not panicked at all. "It seems that your Majesty wants to get rid of me today. Then your Majesty, do you know that I know about your ambush on me today?" The faces of the human king and the 7 6th level warriors changed drastically when they heard this. Could it be that Lei Kang had seen through their plan from the beginning to the end? A warrior's eyes became stern. "Don't waste time talking to him. Even if he is prepared, we can definitely kill him with the combined strength of the 7 of us. We have no way out. We swear to kill this thief today." Several people looked at each other and attacked one after another. "Kill." Lei Kang retreated towards the palace gate, trying to get his spear first. You want to kill me? I'm also thinking of using your hands to help me make further progress in martial arts. Then let's see who is more skilled. Chapter 88 Breakthrough, Gun Intent. Please subscribe first. Please give me a monthly ticket. Duke Xia, take the gun. The guards waiting outside the palace noticed the movement in the Imperial Book Hall, blasted open the door, and threw the spear weighing more than 100 kilograms to Lei Kang. Around, the 300 swordsmen and axemen arranged by the Human King heard the signal of the cup breaking and rushed out to kill the guards. They were not qualified to participate in the battle between the 6-layer heaven warriors, and they only had to kill these guards. We can't let him get the weapon. A warrior with a mustache shouted angrily, throwing a flying knife and a hidden weapon in his hand to stop Lei Kang from taking the gun. Everyone knows that Duke Xia's gun skills are like gods. If Lei Kang didn't have a gun in his hand, his strength would be at least 3 points weaker. Their chances of winning would also be greater. The other few people naturally knew how powerful it was, and a fierce look flashed in their eyes, and they killed Lei Kang faster. At the same time, one person rushed to meet the long spear thrown over, wanting to get the long spear before Lei Kang. Humph. Lei Kang sneered, and his steps suddenly accelerated, becoming weird and unpredictable. Not only did his gun skills reach the realm of unity between man and nature, but his body skills also reached it. Clang! Exclamation mark. Lei Kang came after him, and came near the spear. His arms were filled with blood as thick as a snake. He forced back 2 6th heaven warriors with his 2 palms, and grabbed the spear. With the spear in hand, Lei Kang's full strength burst out immediately. Die. Lei Kang's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Facing 7 6th heaven warriors, he was not afraid at all, but faced them head on. Blood surged from the bodies of the 8 Lei Kangs, and a blood-colored ocean condensed above their heads. Clang clang. The weapons collided, and a powerful force burst out, causing the faces of the 7 top warriors to change. You have only reached the 6th heaven in a few short years, and you have already reached the peak of the 6th heaven. In recent years, Lei Kang has plundered a large amount of resources and treasures from the palace and major families, including no less than 10,000 yuanshi. It is precisely with so many cultivation resources that Lei Kang's blood has accumulated to the peak of the 6th heaven of martial arts. Even so, you will definitely die today. The 7 top warriors went all out. Each of them had a subtle level of body movement, swordsmanship, knife skills, etc. Under their combined efforts, Lei Kang felt a huge pressure. Faintly, Lei Kang seemed to smell the breath of death. Lei Kang had not felt this feeling for a long time. Lei Kang's eyes became fiery, and his whole body was full of fighting spirit. Every cell in his body seemed to be shouting, and his mind was unprecedentedly focused. Fight. 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 There is great terror between life and death, but there is also great opportunity. Lei Kang tried his best to use his spear skills to block the attacks of 7 warriors of the same realm, and occasionally counterattacked. Under their powerful strength and destruction, the Imperial Book Hall was easily destroyed and reduced to ruins. The Human King, who had already retreated under the cover of the inner officials, saw this scene and his scalp numbed. He was only at the blood-moving realm, and he could never have imagined that the top warriors of the 6th heaven were so strong. Fortunately, we retreated quickly, otherwise the little power leaked from this battle alone might have shocked me to death. The noise of the battle between Lei Kang and others alarmed the entire palace, and broke the tranquility of the night. Countless guards came upon hearing the news, but they were ordered by the Human King to retreat, and dared only watch from a distance. Although the generals of the guards were Lei Kang's followers, they were not completely trustworthy confidants after all. Naturally, they would not follow Lei Kang with all their hearts. The generals of the guards were not fools, and they naturally saw that it was the Human King who set up a trap to kill Duke Xia tonight. At the moment, it seemed that Duke Xia was at a disadvantage, and it was estimated that Duke Xia was in danger this time. So they immediately listened to the order of the Human King, guarded all around, and did not dare to approach. In fact, it would be useless for them to approach. In the battle between the 6-layer heaven warriors, ordinary armies can no longer play a big role, especially in this era of abundant vitality of heaven and earth. They use the blood and energy consumed by the dense arrows, and the 6-layer heaven warriors could recover by taking a breath and moving. Whoosh whoosh, the wind is blowing. The king of man and the others felt the change in the weather, and a breeze blew across the earth. Boom boom, the sky suddenly lit up, and a lightning bolt like a tree appeared, followed by a thunderclap that shook the world. It seemed to foreshadow that a storm was about to fall on Wujing City. It seems that God also knows that you are going to die, Lei Kang. Boom boom boom. On the ruins of the Imperial Book Palace, the battle was extremely fierce. The breeze rolled up the smoke and dust, making the already dim night even more invisible. Only Lei Kang and his men were 6th level warriors with amazing eyesight. With the help of the light emitted by the torches held by the guards more than 100 meters away, they could still see the opponent's figure and moves clearly. The few guards brought by Lei Kang have now become corpses. Lei Kang's own situation was not optimistic either. The blue and gorgeous clothes he was wearing became tattered, and there were shallow sword and knife wounds on his body, and blood was dripping. He looked extremely embarrassed and miserable. But it was just an appearance. Lei Kang had a lot of experience in fighting, and these injuries were actually minor injuries, only a little flesh. However, Lei Kang also understood that, if the battle lasted longer, his injuries would eventually become more and more serious. But even in such a desperate situation, Lei Kang's mind was still cold and calm. His heart and the gun were closely connected, and he performed his gun skills crazily. Stab, pierce, poke, block, grab, twist, pick, press, chop, collapse, dance. Lei Kang used all kinds of basic gun skills at will, constantly resisting the high-level martial arts performed by 7 top warriors. His figure also swayed with the breeze, dodging powerful attacks again and again. Lei Kang's memories of reading the palace's scripture pavilion and the thousands of martial arts knowledge he obtained from the major families emerged one by one, and his insights into martial arts and gun skills over the years continued to emerge in his heart. These insights and knowledge, under the pressure of this life and death crisis, began to be integrated, and then Lei Kang applied them to actual combat. Puff, suddenly, in Lei Kang's mind, the whole world trembled violently. His mind seemed to break through a cage and came into closer contact with the surrounding world. At this moment, Lei Kang's mind seemed to be integrated with the natural world. He seemed to have become the breeze around him and the lightning in the sky, freely roaming between heaven and earth. So that's how it is. Ha ha ha. I did it. Lei Kang laughed, and the joy on his face was hard to hide. His eyes were shining. This is the mystery of nature. This is the artistic conception. The spear intention that belongs to me alone. Lei Kang thrust the spear forward fiercely, and the speed suddenly increased. The top warriors around seemed to see a faint cyclone flowing at the tip of Lei Kang's spear. Puff. A black-clothed warrior in front of Lei Kang didn't even react, and the tip of the spear pierced through his chest, piercing a bloody hole fiercely. Lei Kang's blood energy spread along the spear, and with a sudden shock, a huge force burst out through the spear in the body of this black-clothed warrior. Crash. The black-clad warrior was torn apart by this powerful force, and large streams of blood and internal organs fell to the ground. This is impossible. The other 6 top warriors were horrified, and they couldn't believe their eyes. Just now, Lei Kang was struggling under their attacks, but in the blink of an eye, Lei Kang broke through their attacks and shot a top warrior to death. This is simply unbelievable. You are already at the peak of the 6th level of martial arts. How could your strength suddenly increase so dramatically? The speed of Lei Kang's spear just now was really as fast as lightning, which was beyond the scope of the 6th level. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89, the 7th level of martial arts. Please subscribe. Please give me a monthly ticket. Everyone thought of Lei Kang's laughter and words, that he had succeeded, and they understood immediately. An old man's voice trembled. Did you break through to a new realm of martial arts? Lei Kang, who was in a good mood at the moment, did not hide it, nodded and said, yes. It is a new realm, but it is a realm of skills, a higher realm than the unity of man and nature. Martial arts realm. Lei Kang grinned, but I can feel that the realm of the 7th level of blood and ki martial arts will soon be opened up by me. I also want to thank you all for your siege. Lei Kang was in high spirits and expressed his sincere gratitude to several people. If it weren't for the life and death pressure you brought to me, I would not be able to comprehend the mystery of nature and the spear today. Of course, in addition to the life and death pressure brought by the 7 6th level warriors, Lei Kang also thanks the wind and thunder for their help. This breeze and lightning came at the right time, allowing Lei Kang to comprehend the power of wind and lightning. The extreme thunder spear technique that Lei Kang practiced in the past was originally known for its speed. Between heaven and earth, wind and thunder are the natural forces that people, in ancient times, believed to be the fastest. Of course, in modern people's cognition, the fastest is light. The spear intent that Lei Kang has comprehended now is based on speed. Thinking of this, Lei Kang's heart moved. This spear intent should be called the Extreme Thunder Spear Intention. New realm, martial arts realm. The 6 top warriors felt bitter and happy. The bitter thing is that Lei Kang's comprehension of the spear intent means that their plan has failed and they will definitely die. The happy thing is that Lei Kang's comprehension of the new realm is due to their contribution. As a 6th level warrior who has reached the end of the blood and key martial arts system, they used to be extremely eager to continue practicing. Now that Lei Kang continues the path of practice for the Tianyuan continent martial arts system, they don't know how excited they are. They are bound to be passed down through the ages with Lei Kang's name. The name Lei Kang will be listed alongside the Martial Ancestor and the first generation human king in the history books of the Tianyuan continent. Exclamation mark. It's a pity that they don't have the opportunity to see this higher martial arts scenery. Come on, Duke Zaya. The 6 top warriors took a deep breath, their eyes full of fighting spirit. Let us see the power of this new realm before we die. Lei Kang nodded. Okay. He understood these people's thoughts very well. As the saying goes, if you hear the truth in the morning, you can die in the evening. They can see the emergence of a new realm of martial arts before they die, and they can die without regrets. Kill. The 6 people rose up again. Their blood and energy climbed to the peak state and turned into a rolling river outside their bodies, roaring wildly and surging, and exerted their strongest martial arts attacks with all their strength. Lei Kang used the extreme thunder spear, meaning he had just comprehended. Swish. Lei Kang's spear was as fast as lightning, and in an instant he stabbed out 6 spear flowers, breaking the attacks of the 6 6th level warriors one by one, and piercing and killing them. As the 6 bodies fell to the ground, the entire palace became silent and extremely quiet. Even the thunder that had just roared stopped temporarily. 6 top warriors killed with one shot. The general of the Imperial Guard swallowed his saliva, and it was hard to believe what he saw. But the corpse lying at Lei Kang's feet told him that everything was true. Lei Kang walked out of the ruins of the Imperial Book Hall with a gun in his hand. The tip of the long spear was still dripping with hot blood, leaving enchanting blood flowers on the ground. Send them back to their respective residences and let their families bury them with honor. Lei Kang came to the Human King and ordered the general of the Imperial Guard beside him. After all, they helped Lei Kang break through and made great contributions. They are also the top strong men in the world, and they should be treated with courtesy after death. Lei Kang is willing to give them a decent ending. As for the Human King who planned the action tonight, Your Majesty, the storm is coming. You should go back to the palace to rest. Lei Kang's tone was extremely calm, as if he didn't care about what the Human King said before that he wanted him to die. The Human King, whose body had been shaking since just now, only felt his mouth extremely heavy, and there was no movement. After saying a word, Lei Kang nodded slightly, said no more, and turned to return to his mansion. The general of the Imperial Guard understood, and immediately escorted the Human King back to his bedroom. At the same time, he sent people to collect the bodies of the 7 6th level warriors and Lei Kang's personal guards, and sent them back to their respective families. The eyes of the Human King who was sent to the bedroom became grey. He knew that he would never have the chance to kill Lei Kang again. He would be a puppet Human King for the rest of his life. This was still a lucky result. If he was unlucky, maybe one day Lei Kang would pull him down from the position of Human King, become the Human King himself, and establish a new dynasty. At that time, his ending would certainly be even more miserable. I'm ashamed of my ancestors. A storm is coming. World Log Tianyuan Realm Chapter. In the 510th year of the Wu Dynasty, the 8th human king of the Wu Dynasty issued a bloody edict to gather 7 6th level warriors to surround and kill Lei Kang, Duke of Xia. Lei Kang suddenly realized in despair, felt the nature of heaven and earth, and realized the martial arts realm, killing 7 powerful men in one fell swoop. After the war, Lei Kang entered seclusion and practiced with all his heart. The emergence of the martial arts realm made Lei Kang's mind and soul transform, and he was baptized by the vitality of heaven and earth, and his spirit and spirit merged. Lei Kang's blood and gun intent merged little by little, causing his life level to evolve for the second time. Lei Kang thus stepped into the 7th level of martial arts. The emergence of a new martial arts realm gave birth to a new atmosphere of civilization, and the first flower bud of the blood and martial arts civilization tree of the Tianyuan realm was born. In Cheoxi Pavilion, Wen Dao suddenly opened his eyes, looked at the information that appeared on the Dao system panel, and laughed heartily. Ha ha ha. This Lei Kang really didn't disappoint me, and really created a new martial arts realm. The 7th level of martial arts realm. Artistic realm. Wen Dao was not unfamiliar with the word artistic conception. It was actually a branch of the law of heaven and earth. At the moment, when Lei Kang broke through, a strong aura of civilization also emerged spontaneously, pouring into the tree of civilization in the void. The bloody martial arts civilization tree suddenly grew violently, and its size became even larger. The most important thing is that on a branch of the bloody martial arts civilization tree, a blood-colored flower bud slowly grew. It exudes a special artistic conception. If Lei Kang saw it, he would definitely recognize that this is the extreme thunder spear, meaning he comprehended. From this moment on, the martial arts of the Tianyuan realm is truly on the right track. Wen Dao's eyes were full of smiles. Every time a martial artist of the 7th level of martial arts and above, that is, the 3rd level of the heavens, is born, it can help the laws of the Tianyuan realm grow faster. The growth of the civilization tree also fed back to the Tianyuan realm, allowing the Tianyuan realm to take another big step forward. However, it is still far from being upgraded to a small world of Hengsha. After all, this is a promotion to a big realm, which is much more difficult than the 3 small realms of the dust world level. At least it is not enough for Lei Kang, who is only at the 7th level of martial arts. Moreover, the 7th level of martial arts is actually just entering the 3rd level. If the Tianyuan realm wants to be promoted to the Hengsha world, at least 3 or even 4 digits of 3rd level warriors must be born in the world. Wen Dao is looking forward to the arrival of this day. He has a hunch that when the Tianyuan realm is promoted to the Hengsha world, the blood and ki martial arts laws will also reach the point where they can be condensed in the main universe. At that time, the ancestral star will usher in a true spiritual revival and an extraordinary era! Chapter 90 Blood and Ki Pure Yang. The Xia dynasty is established. Please subscribe first. Please give me a monthly ticket. Time goes back to when Lei Kang returned to the Xia Guogang mansion to practice in seclusion. Lei Kang performed his spear skills over and over again in the secret room, and the thunder spear intent on his body whistled, and the secret room was full of spear shadows. Lei Kang could feel that his mind had undergone a transformation, and his soul had grown stronger. This was a natural change after comprehending the realm of martial arts. Indistinctly, Lei Kang seemed to be able to slightly use his soul power to affect the vitality of heaven and earth within a few feet around him. It seems that the perception left by the ancestors is not completely wrong. This 7th level of martial arts and the road behind it are indeed closely related to the soul. It's just that Lei Kang's soul improvement was brought about by the realm breakthrough, not by his own practice. Lei Kang's eyes flashed, and the furnace of his heart beat violently at an astonishing speed. His spine swelled like a dragon, and the blood and ki in his body circulated wildly. The danshan and hundreds of acupoints in his body glowed together, releasing all the blood and ki contained in them, and manifested a long river of blood and ki outside the body. The lightning spear intent that Lei Kang had comprehended spread out, slowly merging with every drop and every wisp of blood. Originally, there was a faint purple in the depths of Lei Kang's blood. But after Lei Kang's spear intent was integrated into the blood that could not be improved at all began to be further condensed and compressed under the effect of the spear intent. Lei Kang's blood slowly became smaller, and the purple blood slowly turned into gold. The quality of the blood rose to another level. Boom. Suddenly Lei Kang felt a familiar numbness all over his body. This was exactly the same feeling that Lei Kang had when he broke through to the 4th heaven more than 30 years ago. Lei Kang's life level has transformed again. At this moment, he officially stepped into the 7th heaven of martial arts. Lei Kang circulated the blood in his hands, looking at the gold that appeared in it, thinking, golden blood is stronger than purple blood, and after the breakthrough, I can feel that my body has vacated a lot of space, which can accommodate more blood. Lei Kang smiled and said, my strength has exceeded the level of the 6th heaven. This is the new realm of martial arts. Golden blood, the breath is pure and yang, and it is as mighty as the Sunday. In this case, this 7th heaven of martial arts will be called blood and pure yang. As the pioneer of the new martial arts realm, Lei Kang directly named it. A few days later, Lei Kang broke through the gate and took charge of the court again. The human king has completely become a puppet, allowing Lei Kang to manipulate him. If Lei Kang is willing, he can ask the human king to issue a confession of guilt at any time, announce abdication, and pass the throne of the human king to him. However, Lei Kang did not do so for the time being. Lei Kang looked at the land of the 7 states in the west. I'll let you live a few more years. Now it's time to take back all the lost land. Lei Kang's order was quickly passed down, and the 200,000 troops of the Wu dynasty assembled at the fastest speed. Under the leadership of Lei Kang, they marched towards Kunlun State and Yu State. During this time, the news of Lei Kang's breakthrough also spread to all parts of Tianyuan continent. Soon, countless warriors were shocked by this news. Facing Lei Kang, who had entered the 7th heaven, the so-called 6th heaven warriors were vulnerable. Therefore, Lei Kang's process of regaining lost territory and suppressing the rebels was extremely smooth. The 2 largest rebel forces in the west, the Fire Worship Sect and Bishop Yap, were defeated. The high-ranking members of the sect were either killed by Lei Kang or fled to hundreds of countries outside the Wu dynasty. In the southwest border of the Wu dynasty, Xuanzhou, one of the 4 states conquered later, a group of Bishop Ya's warriors fled in a panic, fleeing to the night country outside Xuanzhou. One of the 5th heaven warriors was cursing in his heart, damn it. I didn't expect that Lei Kang actually opened up the 7th heaven. They are all time travelers. How did he do it? This person looked at the border town of the night country getting closer and closer, and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. My Bishop Ya started to transfer part of his foundation outside the Wu dynasty a few years ago. As long as I can successfully escape to the night country, I still have a chance to start over. Unfortunately, his wish soon fell through. Suddenly, a figure walking in the air appeared behind them, approaching at a terrifying speed. Master of Bishop Yap, have you ever asked me before you escape? The faint voice from the sky made Bishop Yap and his group feel scared. Lei Kang, you actually chased us. How did you know the direction we escaped? Bishop Yaz Travis looked incredulous and desperate. Yes, the one coming was Lei Kang. The ability to walk in the air was also developed by Lei Kang after he broke through to the 7th level of martial arts. Through the martial arts realm, the vitality of the heaven and earth around the body is affected. An upward force is generated, offsetting the influence of gravity, allowing it to fly into the sky. When this divine method first appeared, I don't know how many people were shocked. It made countless warriors yearn for it. Ordinary people have already worshipped Lei Kang as a god. This is flying. Since the birth of mankind, no one has not yearned to be able to fly freely in the sky like a bird. Now, the blood and ki martial arts system has really done it. As long as the strength reaches the 7th heaven, you can walk in the air. Facing an enemy who can fly, even if the strength is the same, a warrior of the 6th heaven cannot be an opponent. The speed and agility of the 2 sides are too different. What's more, the warriors of the 7th heaven have more martial arts realm than them, and their strength is also stronger. This is also the reason why Bishop Yad and his party only dared to let some middle-level personnel lead the army to stop them when they heard that Lei Kang was about to arrive in Xuanzhou, while their senior officials immediately fled far away. It's just that they underestimated Lei Kang's intelligence ability. After receiving the information about their escape, Lei Kang chased them alone and wanted to catch Bishop Yad and his party in one fell swoop. Put down your weapons. I can spare your lives. Lei Kang's tone was as calm as water. Otherwise, today is the day you die. Bishop Yad and several Travises were unwilling, but they did not dare to resist, so they could only put down their weapons obediently. Seeing this, others also chose to surrender. In this way, Xuanzhao, the last lost land of the Wu dynasty, was brought back into the control of the Wu dynasty, and the Zoroastrianism and the Bishop of Yad were completely wiped out. However, the army led by Lei Kang did not stop, but continued to march south, heading towards the territories of the Yi Kingdom and other hundreds of countries. In the end, Lei Kang conquered several countries in the south of the Wu dynasty and seized a territory comparable to that of a state. He led the army north again, fought all the way, and entered the northern grasslands. Lei Kang did not forget what he said to the former king of people in the past. The three countries of Qiaiyurong, Mulan, and Yiju, who were good at singing and fighting in the northern grasslands, were vulnerable to the army of the Wu dynasty. Countless tribesmen were killed and captured, and hundreds of thousands of cattle, sheep, and horses became Lei Kang's spoils of war. For hundreds of years since then, the three major nomadic peoples on the grasslands have been devastated, and the remaining tribesmen can only choose to go north to more bitter, cold and desolate areas, and dare not go south to herd horses. After several years of fighting, Lei Kang led the army back to Wujing City, Shenzhou. He was greeted by the king of Wu dynasty, hundreds of civil and military officials, and hundreds of thousands of people in Wujing City. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the king of Wu dynasty burst into tears, believing that he was mediocre and incompetent, and unworthy of possessing the sacred artifact of the country. The king of Man was willing to offer the king of Man seal, the symbol of the Wu dynasty, and abdicate the throne of the king of Man to Lei Kang, Duke of Xia! Lei Kang was embarrassed, saying that he was a loyal and courageous loyal minister. How could he do such a rebellious act and refuse the abdication of the king of Man? Unfortunately, the king of Wu dynasty insisted. In addition, hundreds of thousands of people in Wujing City shouted together, and hundreds of civil and military officials advised. Lei Kang finally accepted the abdication and took over the throne of the king of Man from the king of Wu dynasty. Since then, the Wu dynasty has withdrawn from the stage of history. The second feudal dynasty of Tianyuan continent, the Xia dynasty, was established! Dear readers, please place your first order. It is the first VIP chapter! Chapter 91 Yuan Qi Technology. Please subscribe and vote. After the abdication of the human king of the Wu dynasty, Lei Kang performed Fengshen in Xiang Mountain, and he successfully established the second feudal dynasty of Tianyuan continent, the Xia dynasty. The origin of the name of the Xia dynasty, in addition to continuing Lei Kang's former title of Duke of Xia, there is another reason. That is, Lei Kang wanted to commemorate his country in his previous life, Xuxia. After so many years of fighting, Lei Kang knew that there were many time travelers on the Tianyuan continent, and they came from different places. For example, the time travelers of Bishop Nea came from various western countries. Lei Kang knew very well that there had been many time travelers in the history of Tianyuan continent. For example, the founder of the Wu dynasty 500 years ago, the human king, was 100% a time traveler. And the Wuzhu in the ancient tribal period was also suspected to be a time traveler. It is possible that there will be more time travelers in the future. So Lei Kang named his dynasty Xia, and he also wanted to tell later generations that the founder of this dynasty was a Xuxia countryman. Most of the systems of the Xia dynasty continued the Wu dynasty. After all, the system established by Gu Teng was still relatively advanced during the feudal dynasty. Otherwise, the Wu dynasty would not have been able to last for 500 years. You should know that among the ancient dynasties of the Xia kingdom, except for the Xia dynasty, none of the remaining dynasties could survive the 300-year curse. It is already very good that the Wu dynasty can last for 500 years. Of course, Lei Kang did not inherit the title of the human king of the Wu dynasty, but changed his name to human emperor. Lei Kang is also known as the Xia emperor by the world. After more than 10 years of war, the population of the Wu dynasty has decreased by no less than 10 million, nearly 1/3 of the population. The martial arts families, sects, gangs, etc. that once dominated the area were also specially cleared out by Lei Kang in this battle. The money, land, etc. they looted were nationalized. It can be said that this battle eliminated most of the social contradictions that had accumulated in the Wu dynasty for hundreds of years, just like returning to the beginning of the founding of the Wu dynasty. At the same time, because Lei Kang swept across the countries, the territory of the Xia dynasty was much larger than that of the Wu dynasty. Now the territory of the Xia dynasty has increased to 19 states! The increase in territory means more land, which can grow more food and supply more people. In order not to repeat the mistakes of the Wu dynasty, or to make the Xia dynasty last as long as possible, Lei Kang intends to issue a family planning decree, so that each household shall not have more than 3 children. In this way, the rate of population growth can also be slowed down, so that the social contradictions that can overthrow the dynasty can be postponed as much as possible. But if productivity does not increase, the fate of dynasty change will never disappear. Lei Kang sighed. Is it really impossible for this world to develop technology? After the establishment of the Xia dynasty, Lei Kang, like Guteng, wanted to use the abilities of the time travelers to start the Industrial Revolution in the Tianyuan continent. Unfortunately, it still didn't work in the end. Steam, electricity and other energy sources that can increase productivity have not been invented. Energy is what limits productivity. At this time, a time traveler stood up and made suggestions to Lei Kang. According to him, when he was on the ancestral star, he was a doctor of physics at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the United States. When he first traveled to the Tianyuan continent, he also wanted to take the road of science and technology, but failed. So later he turned to martial arts and became a warrior. But he did not forget his previous knowledge. Energy. Heaven and earth energy is also a kind of energy. Heaven and earth energy is all over the world. It can almost be said to be inexhaustible. Under the ground, there are condensed heaven and earth energy, like coal and oil, called yuanxi. The time traveler said with a red face and an extremely excited look. If we can find a way to use heaven and earth energy like electricity and use it to drive manufacturing machines, wouldn't it be possible to start an alternative industrial revolution? Hearing this, Lei Kang pondered, and the more he thought about it, the more he felt that this method was feasible. This is not the era of decades ago when heaven and earth energy was so thin that even warriors had to spend a lot of energy to absorb it. Today, the concentration of heaven and earth energy in Tianyuan continent is 10 times higher. Even if ordinary people do not practice in this environment, they can be subtly influenced by heaven and earth energy and become stronger. Who knows, we can really find a path of energy technology that belongs to Tianyuan continent. Very good. In that case, I will appoint you as the president of the Xia Dynasty Academy of Sciences and find people with lofty ideals in the Xia Dynasty to explore the science and technology of vitality. Yes, vitality technology. Wen Dao, who received a notification from the Dao system and asked whether to stop it, was thoughtful. If they can really find a way to let ordinary people use tools and also use the vitality of heaven and earth, it would be great. System, there is no need to block in this regard. Yes, Master. The reason why Wen Dao wanted to block the technology of Tianyuan continent before. The main reason was that he didn't want the humans of Tianyuan continent to give up the blood and ki martial arts system and vigorously develop technology to make technology the mainstream. After all, hundreds of years ago, the blood and ki martial arts in Tianyuan realm only reached the 6th heaven. Warriors of this level can't resist the missiles of the technology system at all. And light thermal weapons such as firearms are also invincible against warriors of low realms. The power that others have to practice hard for more than 10 or 20 years can be mastered by ordinary people with firearms in one go. This is a great blow to the development of martial arts, making the vast majority of people in Tianyuan continent lean towards the technology system. But now it is different. There are third-tier warriors on the Tianyuan continent. Their strength may be a bit difficult to confront missiles head-on, but they can still dodge. Moreover, Yuan Qi technology is closely related to the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth. If it can be studied out, it will also promote the development of martial arts. Therefore, Wen Dao did not restrict Lei Kang and others from studying and exploring Yuan Qi technology. Moreover, Wen Dao also figured it out. If Yuan Qi technology can really appear, the productivity of the Tianyuan realm can also increase greatly, and it can feed more humans. With a larger population base, the probability of the birth of geniuses is also greater. It can continuously provide vitality for the development of Tianyuan realm martial arts, allowing Tianyuan realm to become a Hengsha world faster. The civilization of Tianyuan realm is developing steadily, and the civilization of Hangji realm has not disappointed me. At this time, Wen Dao looked at Hangji realm on another leaf of the world tree. 30 or 40 years have passed on the Tianyuan continent, and 300 or 400 years have passed on Hangji Star. In these hundreds of years, the war over the Godstone on the 3 continents of Hangji Star has never stopped. However, the war has also promoted the development of civilization and martial arts system. The civilization of Hangji Star has entered the city-state era from the tribal era, and a rudimentary state has gradually emerged. The meridian martial arts system of Hangji Star has also been continuously improved by humans, giving rise to various martial arts knowledge and techniques. Finally, after hundreds of years of martial arts development, the foundation has settled. In the past few decades, a genius was born in Hangji Star. He opened up the 4th level of the meridian martial arts system! This is why Wen Dao was shocked. Chapter 90 to the 4th and 5th levels of meridian martial arts. I didn't expect that before the time travelers were sent to Hangji Star. The local humans have already figured out the subsequent martial arts realm. Wen Dao smiled and praised him. Yes, this person's talent is indeed amazing. You should know that on Hangji Star, Wen Dao did not put in the golden finger of martial arts jade that can improve comprehension. There are only meteorites that can release the vitality of heaven and earth and the most basic knowledge of human body structure. This person was able to open up a new meridian martial arts realm, entirely relying on his own comprehension and the martial arts knowledge accumulated by his ancestors. Wen Dao looked at the world log of the system, which recorded the cultivation process of this genius. World log Hangji realm chapter, the 499th year of the Divine Stone era. A martial arts genius, Feng Qi, was born on the Zenden continent of Hangji Star. Feng Qi is gifted and is a rare genius on Hangji Star once in 500 years. Feng Qi was born with all meridians open and smooth, and he was like a fish in water when practicing meridian martial arts. Feng Qi learned martial arts at the age of 8, accumulated enough internal energy to enter the 1st level at the age of 9, reached the 2nd level at the age of 10, broke through to the 3rd level of martial arts at the age of 13, and became the best in the world at the age of 16. Born with all meridians open, Wen Dao's eyes flashed with surprise. No wonder. The difficulty of practicing the meridian martial arts system is to open up various meridians in the body. The meridians in a normal human body are all blocked, and they need to be crushed and cleared bit by bit with internal energy. This takes a long time. If a warrior who practices the meridian martial arts wants to improve his strength, he must open up meridians one by one. Therefore, the first 3 levels of the meridian martial arts system are called 12 main meridians, 8 extraordinary meridians, and all meridians open. But Feng Qi was born with all meridians open, which is equivalent to reaching the 3rd level of meridian martial arts in one step. All he had to do was to absorb the vitality of heaven and earth and convert it into his own internal energy. So when Feng Qi was 16 years old, he became the most powerful warrior in the world! After becoming the most powerful warrior, Feng Qi felt how lonely it was to be invincible. So Feng Qi began to travel around the world, meet top warriors from all over the world, absorb their knowledge and experience, and want to open up a new realm of martial arts. In the 527th year of the Divine Stone era, the 28-year-old Feng Qi came to the Tianyuan Mountains in the west of the Aurora continent, crossed the mountains, reached the 3,000-meter high peak of the Tianyuan Mountains, and witnessed the scenery of the sea of clouds and snow-capped mountains in the Tianyuan Mountains. At this moment, Feng Qi suddenly realized and fell into endless mystery and realized the way to open up the meridian martial arts system and the 4th level of the realm. 2.5 years later, Fenki condensed a white solid internal force snow mountain and the Danshan Qi at the top of the Xianshan Mountains. So far, the 4th level of the Meridian Martial Arts, Qi Snow Mountain was born. Aurora Continent, the largest continent of Hangji Star. Xianshan Mountains, 3,000 meters of the top. Due to the altitude, the top few hundred meters of Xianshan Mountains are covered by wind and snow all year round. At this moment, on this mountain top, where the wind and snow are howling, there is a human-shaped snow sculpture. Boom. Suddenly, a powerful internal force burst out from the human-shaped snow sculpture, shaking away all the surrounding snow and wind, revealing the figure inside. It's done. The 4th level of martial arts. Fenki laughed loudly, and the sound shook all directions, causing the snow on the top of Xianshan Mountain to shake continuously, and begin to roll down. In the end, the snowflakes rolled bigger and bigger, turning into an avalanche, and went down to the bottom of Xianshan Mountain. Fenki, who was extremely excited at this moment, had no intention of paying attention to the disaster caused by him. His consciousness turned inward, looking at Danshan. The thick gaseous internal force condensed into clouds and mist, spreading throughout the Danshan space, hazy, like a sea of clouds and mist. And on this sea of clouds and mist formed by the internal force, a small snow-capped mountain peak was suspended! Exclamation mark. Whenever the gaseous internal force floated to the small mountain peak, it would seem to be attacked by cold air, transformed into small snowflakes falling on this snowy mountain, constantly increasing its height and volume. Fenki sighed. This is the Qi Snow Mountain. It took me almost 300 years of internal strength to condense this snow mountain. It's really not easy. The internal strength of an ordinary 3rd level warrior is only about 60 to 100 years. In other words, in order to completely break through to the 4th level and complete a life level evolution, a 3rd level warrior needs to increase his internal strength by at least 3 times to have a chance. You can see how difficult it is. The so-called 1-year internal strength is the amount of internal strength that a warrior with ordinary qualifications who has not opened up a 12th meridian has cultivated for 1 year. When they open up 12 meridians, 8 extraordinary meridians, or even reach the point where all the meridians are connected, the speed of cultivation will be improved to a certain extent. But even so, it takes 5 or 6 years for an ordinary warrior of the 3rd level to accumulate 60 years of internal strength. Of course, people have different qualifications. Some geniuses are more suitable for being close to the vitality of heaven and earth, and the speed of absorbing the vitality of heaven and earth, and converting it into internal strength will be several times faster than ordinary warriors of the same realm. For example, a genius like Fenki, who was born with all meridians open, can cultivate several times faster than ordinary 3rd level warriors at the 3rd level. So it only took him 2.5 years to successfully condense a complete inner force snow mountain and step into the 4th level of martial arts, the 2nd level of the heavens. Fenki smiled brightly, looking at the rising sun in the distance. And in addition to the 4th level, I also have an idea on how to open up the 5th level. Yes, this sudden realization made Fenki realize the path of 2 realms at once. The knowledge that the divine stone originally passed on to the people of Hangji Star included acupoints in addition to meridians. In recent years, the warriors of Hangji Star have also thought about opening up acupoints to store more internal force, so as to become stronger. However, opening up acupoints is more difficult than opening up meridians. Because the nature of internal force is more violent, it is okay in the meridians, but if it is circulated to other tissues and parts of the human body, it is easy to cause damage. Therefore, few warriors who want to open up acupoints have succeeded in the past few hundred years. Those who succeeded were just lucky, and they could not form a perfect opening method. But after Fenki broke through to the 4th level of the sky, Qihei, the quality of his internal force was upgraded to a higher level, and his control over the internal force became more subtle. So now he can control his internal force, flowing out from the meridians, and running through the flesh, bones, and internal organs of the human body, no longer limited to the meridians. And there is no need to worry about the violent internal force destroying these fragile human tissues. So it becomes feasible to open up the acupuncture point space. This is Fenki's idea of opening up the 5th level. In fact, when condensing the Qihei Zushan, Fengqi had already used his internal force to open up 2 acupuncture points on the front chest and the back waist. The names of these 2 acupuncture points, according to the knowledge transmitted by the magic stone, happen to be called Qihei Acupoint and Zushan Acupoint. There are a total of 356 acupuncture points in the human body. If all of them are opened up, I don't know how much internal force can be accommodated. In this case, the 5th level that is about to be opened up will be called 100 Acupoints Gathering Spirits. Chapter 93. The third batch of travelers. The 365 acupoints mentioned by Fengqi are the major acupoints of the human body. They are closely related to the 12 meridians and the 8 extraordinary meridians, and are distributed on various meridians. They are the acupoints that are most likely to contain internal force. In addition, there are more than 300 other acupoints in the human body, which are called hidden acupoints, and are free from these meridians. Among them, nearly 1/3, a total of 108 acupoints, are the vital acupoints of the human body. They are divided into living acupoints and dead acupoints, with 72 acupoints that are not fatal and 36 fatal. Therefore, Fengqi naturally dared not rashly open up these vital acupoints. Fengqi, who successfully broke through to the 4th level, Qihei Zushan, no longer stayed in Xianshan. Although the environment on Xianshan is beautiful and holy, it is not a treasure land suitable for cultivation. The concentration of the surrounding heaven and earth vitality is only at an ordinary level. Fengqi was able to stay here for 2.5 years, which was entirely the result of epiphany, and he was unwilling to break this state. Now that he has broken through, he naturally has to leave and go to an area with a richer heaven and earth vitality. All the heaven and earth vitality in Hangji realm comes from the divine stone. Although the 100 years set by Wen Dao have long passed, the source left by Wen Dao has been transformed into the vitality of heaven and earth and spread to the whole world. But the location of the magic stone is still the place with the most concentrated vitality between heaven and earth. The place where Fengqi wants to go is the area where the magic stone is. In the area with rich vitality, cultivation can be faster, which allows Fengqi to complete the 4th level of Qihei Zushan cultivation faster, and then concentrate on opening up the 5th level of Baikyo Jiling. As can be seen from the name, the focus of the 5th level is on the word Jiling. Fengqi needs to absorb a large amount of heaven and earth vitality, transform it into strong internal force, and fill each acupoint. This step, Fengqi estimates that it will take a long time. Since the breakthrough, the original superior practice method, the practice efficiency is a bit behind. Fengqi circulated the Great Zaoshan for a while, lowered his head, and said to himself, I need to improve the practice method, let it complement the Qihei Zushan, and improve the practice speed. The practice method and martial arts need to keep pace with the times. Over the past 500 years, the martial arts of Hangji Star have been on the right track, and naturally they have not fallen behind in terms of skills in martial arts. Similar to the Tianyuan realm, the martial artists of Hangji Star also divide their skills. However, they are not divided into grades 1 to 3. Instead, they are divided into 3 levels: ordinary, exquisite, and superior. The skills that Fengqi is practicing now are the best of the best. It is the best skill in the Zenden continent. It is the Xianshan Hunyuan Yikagang that he created, by combining the wisdom of hundreds of schools. However, Fengqi now wants to create a more advanced skill. Now my 4th level strength is overwhelming the world, unparalleled in the world. If the skills are perfected again, its grade will exceed the superior. In that case, then this level of skills will be called peerless skills. Fengqi decided the name of the 4th level of Hangji Star skills and martial arts, peerless. Fengqi, in a good mood, looked around at the top of Xianshan Mountain, and saw a huge rock that was 10 feet high. Fengqi's eyes lit up, and he immediately walked to the boulder. The powerful internal force in his body flowed through the meridians of his arm, and finally came out from his fingertips. Under the influence of the internal force, Fengqi used his finger as a knife, and penetrated 3/10 of the stone, and engraved the passage. I, Fengqi, have a sudden enlightenment and breakthrough today on the Xianshan Mountain, creating the 4th level of martial arts for the world, the realm of Qihei Zushan. I'm very happy. Looking at the words written on the boulder, Fengqi nodded with satisfaction. In this way, future generations will also know what I did today. Then Feng He did not stay any longer, and his body was like a startled wild goose, performing Qigong and running towards the foot of Xianshan Mountain at a very fast speed. His toes lightly touched the snow, and in an instant he crossed a distance of more than 10 feet, and there was no footprint left wherever he passed. It was really stepping on the snow without leaving any trace. Qigong is unparalleled. When they reached the middle of the mountain, the avalanche that was originally caused by Feng He's laughter had completely subsided, but the damage left behind still remained. I don't know how many trees were destroyed by the avalanche, and how many animals on the mountain died. Half a day passed in a blink of an eye. Feng He came to a town at the foot of Xianshan Mountain, bought a horse there, and continued to rush to the nearest city with a magic stone. Qihei Zushan, Baikyo Juling. Not bad, not bad. The Meridian martial arts system has been improved again. Wen Dao nodded with satisfaction. He could feel that the Hangji civilization seed was perfected a little more because of the opening of this new realm, and it was not far from sprouting and growing. It also meant that the Hangji world was not far from being promoted to the upper dust world. It's still missing the last part of the civilization breath. Because Hangji Star has not yet been put into the Traverser, there are not a lot of cross-era inventions, and the productivity of Hangji Star is still in the slavery period. Therefore, in order to make the Hangji civilization seed germinate completely and perfectly, it is still necessary to put in the Traverser. Of course, even if you don't put in the Traverser, you can still wait for a while until the humans on Hangji Star invent some inventions that can greatly increase productivity. But Wen Dao obviously won't do this. After all, there are good tools that can be used. Why wait? If Hangji Star is promoted to the upper dust world as soon as possible, Wen Dao can also obtain the origin reward faster and open up a new world. Now Wen Dao is in great need of the origin. Moreover, the Meridian martial arts system has reached the second level, which is relatively complete and can be spread in the ancestral star like the blood martial arts system. Naturally, some traverses are needed as tools to spread it on behalf of the ancestral star. I wanted to wait a few more days to put in the traverses. Wen Dao smiled, but who can say that plans cannot keep up with changes, and a peerless genius appeared on Hangji Star. Under Wen Dao's instruction, the Xian Dao system quickly selected the candidates for the third batch of traverses. These days, there are countless comments and videos released by the Xian Dao system. Countless people on the ancestral star have been marked by the Xian Dao system and become preparatory traverses. As long as Wen Dao gives an order, they can be put into various dust worlds. Hangji Star has 3 continents. In this case, put in 3,000 traverses at one time, 1,000 people per continent. Yes, Master. At this moment, countless people on the ancestral star were hinted and quickly returned to their homes and went to bed. An hour later, the travelers were in a daze, their souls enveloped by the power of the world tree, and were cast into its second leaf. There was also a natural phenomenon on Hangji Star, and a large-scale meteor shower appeared. The people of Hangji Star thought that this was another miracle like the arrival of the Godstone 500 years ago, which would bring more vitality to the world. But this meteor shower was just an ordinary meteorite, and did not bring any changes. Of course, this is just the current view of the people of Hangji Star. Within 3 years after the meteor shower, the 3 continents of Hangji Star, Zenden, Zuanian, and Shenjing, and the inland sea between them, the Thousand Island Sea. Babies with excellent martial arts talents were constantly born. Chapter 94 My Martial Saint Father. Aurora Continent Washing City. As a famous martial arts holy land on the continent, it is extremely prosperous, with a large number of people coming and going every day. Countless warriors from all over the world come here to pay homage to the martial saint. On the avenue outside Washing City, a team of cars is slowly approaching. In front of the team, there is a young man in white riding a black horse. Behind him is a huge open carriage pulled by 2 horses, loaded with a huge bluish-white stone the size of a large water tank with a bumpy surface. Looking at the deep ruts left behind the carriage, it can be seen that the weight of this bluish-white meteorite is extremely large, far exceeding the ordinary stones of the same size. Soon, the team arrived at the gate of Washing City. The young man looked at the gate of the city, where there were many more warriors than in the past. His eyes turned, and he clapped his hands in secret. Unconsciously, it is the day of the World Martial Arts Conference again. No wonder the number of warriors in the crowd has increased greatly. 30 years ago, Feng Qi defeated 3,000 cavalrymen with one sword outside the former Dangyang city, and became famous in one battle. Everyone knows that Feng Qi has opened up the 4th and 5th levels of martial arts. Later, Feng Qi was even more generous in spreading the method of breakthrough to the world and telling the key points of practice in the 2 realms. It can be said that his merits are immeasurable. So the warriors of the Zendong continent respected Feng Qi as the martial saint. The Dangyang city, where he was located, was also renamed the Martial Saint City. Later, in order to make the martial arts of the Zendong continent prosperous, the Martial Saint Feng Qi decided to hold the World Martial Arts Conference in the Martial Saint City and called on warriors from all over the world to come. Anyone who won a place in the Martial Arts Conference had the opportunity to become a disciple of the Martial Saint and learn the peerless skills and martial arts he created. When this news came out, the world was shocked, and warriors from countless city-states rushed to the Martial Saint City to participate in the Martial Arts Conference. After all, this was the guidance of the Martial Saint. Although Feng Qijiang's breakthrough methods of Qi He Zushan and 100 acupoints gathering spirits have been spread out, but opening up 2 major acupoints and condensing Qi He Zushan in the Danshan is not something that can be done by talking. It requires strong internal strength. Therefore, the cultivation methods of these 2 realms have been passed down for many years, and there are basically few people in the world who have truly broken through to the 4th level. Most of the 3rd level martial arts masters are still accumulating internal strength, and having a breakthrough method does not mean that you can break through 100%. After all, they don't have the cultivation experience of their predecessors. They need to explore on their own, and the possibility of failure is relatively high. Therefore, Feng Qi's personal guidance and teaching of peerless skills are too tempting. It can make them break through faster and more steadily. So even if many martial arts masters are older than Feng Qi, they still shamelessly participate in the martial arts conference and want to become Feng Qi's disciples. It was also from that time that the tradition of holding the martial arts conference every 5 years was passed down. Of course, in order to give young warriors the opportunity to perform, the martial arts conference specially divided the Xianjiao martial arts conference, which only allowed young warriors under the age of 25 to participate. The young man smiled and said, "It seems that my father will accept 1 or 2 more disciples." Yes, this person is the son of the martial saint Feng Qi, named Feng Yan. But he has another identity, that is, a traveler from the ancestral star. Compared with other travelers, Feng Yan's start can be said to be against the sky. He directly became the son of the first martial artist on Hangji Star. Feng Yan can read the profound martial arts techniques and skills that ordinary people can hardly access. Over the past few decades, Feng Qi has learned and collected the techniques and skills of various city-states and tribes on the Zendong continent. The number is as numerous as the stars in the sky and as vast as the sea of smoke. Moreover, these techniques and skills have been further improved and developed by Feng Qi, and they are much more powerful than the original ones. Some even changed from ordinary to exquisite, and from exquisite to superior. Of course, Feng Qi also gained a lot of benefits. There are many unique martial arts techniques, with alternative martial arts ideas, which have inspired Feng Qi a lot. These perfected techniques are placed in the center of Wusheng City, in the martial arts temple. It can be said that Feng Yan is the biggest second generation on Hangji Star, born at the peak. But Feng Yan is not keen on martial arts. Compared with martial arts practice, Feng Yan prefers to travel around, collect various rare treasures, make inventions, and forge weapons. Look, the white boulder that Feng Yan pulled back is a rare treasure he found this time, a magic stone! Exclamation mark. In today's era, the magic stone is more of a symbol, with only symbolic meaning. Unlike more than 500 years ago, the magic stone can release the vitality of heaven and earth instead of food to fill the stomach, which can speed up the practice of warriors. As the son of the martial saint, Feng Yan only needs to say my father is the martial saint Feng Qi. It is easy to trade this symbolic magic stone from other small city-states with several superior techniques or martial arts. The atmosphere in Washington City nowadays is like the new year. The city is decorated with lights and colorful decorations, thanks to Feng Yan, and it is full of joy and excitement. The inns in the city are full of warriors from all over the world, waiting for the start of the martial arts conference. In order to compete for a guest room, the warriors have fought a lot. Of course, the loser will be beaten black and blue at most, and will not end up with a death like the outside world. Because this is Washington City, all warriors dare not be too presumptuous here. Otherwise, a word from Washington can make warriors from the entire Zendan continent hunt him down. This is the reputation of Washington. Feng Yan ignored the lively atmosphere around him, and took his men back to the city lord's mansion slowly. After asking the servants to move the magic stone to a special forging room, Feng Yan couldn't wait to start hammering, wanting to forge a magic weapon. Yes, Feng Yan wanted to use the magic stone to forge a magic weapon. After years of being washed by the vitality of heaven and earth, the divine stone has become the best treasure in the world. Its hardness, toughness, etc. are not inferior to ordinary metals. Even the material at the center of the divine stone can be said to be far superior to most metals in the world, because the center absorbs a trace of original energy! When he was on the ancestral star, Feng Yan was an intangible cultural heritage inheritor of forging cold weapons. From childhood to adulthood, he has shown great interest in forging, dreaming that he can forge a divine weapon that can rival the top 10 famous swords and be famous for thousands of years like the famous craftsmen in ancient times. But unfortunately, on the ancestral star, although the forging technology is far superior to that of ancient times, the sword forged by Feng Yan is also extremely sharp and can cut iron like mud. But it is not well known. Because modern people don't pay attention to forged swords at all, they only pay attention to various gossip news. So Feng Yan has never been successful. But it's different on this Hangji star. Here, martial arts are prosperous, martial virtues are abundant, and almost every warrior has a weapon. If Feng Yan could forge some legendary weapons and make his name go down in history, he could die without regrets. In fact, the main reason is that Feng Yan has no confidence in surpassing his father in martial arts. After all, his father is a martial saint, the pioneer of a new realm of martial arts. Under the aura of Feng Qi, even if Feng Yan cultivated to the 4th, 5th, or even the 6th realm that Feng Qi opened up in recent years, as long as he does not surpass Feng Qi, his name, Feng Yan, will not be recorded in the history books of later generations, and only a record of the son of the martial saint will be left. So Feng Yan wants to find another way and achieve enough success in another field to make his name, like his father, go down in history! And this field is forging! Chapter 95, the 6th stage of martial arts. Entering the Dao with soldiers. Please subscribe. Please give me a monthly ticket. Ding, ding, ding. In a corner of the city lord's mansion, the sound of knocking on iron continued to ring out. The blazing flames spread, causing the temperature of that area to rise. The servants of the city lord's mansion had long been accustomed to this, and continued to work on their own without being affected at all. The world-respected martial saint Feng Qi heard the knocking sounds in the mansion one after another, and immediately knew that his second son Feng Yan was back. This evil son, instead of practicing martial arts well, he always uses crooked ways. Feng Qi's tone was full of regret. Feng Yan's talent for martial arts is actually not bad. On the Zendan continent, he can be regarded as an upper middle level figure. Under Feng Qi's guidance, it is no problem to practice to the 5th level of martial arts 100 apertures gathering spirits. Unfortunately, Feng Yan's ambition is not here, so Feng Qi is also helpless. A man in black tights smiled. Father, since my second brother likes forging weapons more, let him do it. Feng Qi looked at his eldest son Feng Zuan, and his originally ugly face suddenly improved. Feng Zuan's martial arts talent is much better than Feng Yan's. Now at the age of 23, he has opened up all the 8 extraordinary meridians, has 50 years of internal strength, and is about to enter the realm of all meridians. Such a training speed is naturally far inferior to Feng Qi when he was young. but compared with other young warriors in Zendan continent, he is among the best. Forget it. Forget it. It's been so many years. Let Jaina do it. I want to see what kind of magic weapon he can forge with the magic stone. Feng Qi knew that Feng Yan wanted to stand shoulder to shoulder with him in another field and achieve an achievement that would go down in history. In fact, Feng Qi also wanted Feng Yan to really achieve success. After all, a tiger father will have a dog son. If Feng Yan can go down in history with him, it will be an immortal story. The martial arts conference is about to begin. Zuana, go and make arrangements. Feng Qi said. Yes, father. The man in black replied. In the forging room, Feng Yan, with his upper body naked, was sweating all over his body. But before the sweat dripped onto the ground, it was evaporated by the high temperature in the room. The divine stone, which was the size of a water tank, was now chiseled into pieces of gravel of different sizes by Feng Yan using various tools, and these gravel were classified according to their origins. The best quality gravel was naturally the core part of the divine stone. Even the outermost material of the divine stone was better than bronze and iron. Feng Yan used bellows and other equipment to raise the temperature to more than 1500 degrees, and the fragments of the divine stone showed signs of melting. Feng Yan continued to increase the charcoal and increase the air content in the blast furnace with ease. This was not the first time Feng Yan used the divine stone to forge weapons. Feng Yan started a few years ago. It's just that he has never been able to create the divine weapon in Feng Yan's mind. After several hours of calcination, the two pieces of divine stone rubble the size of a human head finally melted completely and turned into a pool of red magma. Feng Yan then poured the magma into the mold that had been prepared in advance and made a prototype of a weapon. A long sword. Clang clang clang. When the long sword cooled to a certain degree, the knocking sound rang again. This time Feng Yan wanted to remove the useless impurities inside and occasionally add some precious metals to make the quality of the divine stone longsword even better. Feng Yan's lifelong learning was fully displayed at this moment. According to the process of forging the Langquan sword in his previous life, he continued to forge the divine stone longsword, hammering, filing, polishing, inlaying, quenching. It took several days, and a sword forged from divine stone was born. In addition to the normal ability to cut iron like mud and be extremely sharp, this sword can almost allow the warrior's internal force to flow in it, as smooth as the warrior's own arm. Faintly, the internal force actually swallowed and spit out at the tip of the sword and actually formed a sword energy. You should know that the internal force of a warrior poured into an ordinary weapon is like pouring water into a block ditch, which can only absorb a small amount of internal force. The internal force blessing that a weapon can obtain and the power it exerts is naturally very low. But a weapon like the magic stone sword that can be used at will can at least increase the combat power of a warrior by 70% to 80%. Exclamation mark. But Feng Yan was still not satisfied. In the past few years, Feng Yan has forged no less than 50 weapons like this. This is still a certain distance from the standard of magic weapon in his mind. After all, Han Jiaxing is an extraordinary world, and the performance of this sword is not like a magic weapon in the extraordinary world. So Feng Yan continued to forge the remaining fragments of the magic stone, and forge them into various weapons. Knives, swords, guns, sticks, and halberds appeared one by one. While Feng Yan was constantly forging weapons, the day of the martial arts conference arrived as scheduled. Countless warriors from the Zendan continent gathered together, including many time travelers. The time travelers are now between the ages of 18 and 21, and they can just participate in the martial arts conference of the younger generation. The time travelers are ambitious and want to stand out in this martial arts event and get the favor of the martial arts saint. Even with the arrogance of the time travelers, they have to admit that the martial arts saint Feng Qi, who has created a new realm and a new world of meridian martial arts, has too amazing talent. Even if they were asked to come, they might not be able to do it. So it is not a shame to become a disciple of the martial arts saint. With the guidance of the martial arts saint, their martial arts journey can also become smooth sailing. Haven't you seen the several young warriors who were accepted as disciples by the martial arts saint Feng Qi in the first 2 or 3 martial arts conferences? Now their strength has reached the 4th level of Qihei Zushan. It can be seen that the level of Feng Qi's followers is extremely high. What's more, if they can get the support of the martial arts saint, their process of dominating the world will become smoother. Exclamation mark. Yes, dominating the world. Just like the Tianyuan continent before. After the travelers grew up, the 3 continents of Tianyuan Star also entered the era of fighting for world domination. Each traveler led their own forces to conquer and annex each other, wanting to establish a unified country. That is, the martial saint Feng Qi was focused on martial arts and had no time to fight for world domination. Otherwise, with Feng Qi's current reputation, he could raise a large army at any time. Even Feng Qi alone was equivalent to an army of 10,000 people. If Feng Qi wanted to conquer the various city-states on the Zendan continent, there would be no traveler. It was not the turn of the travelers to fight for world domination after they grew up. But even so, the status of Washing City in Zendan continent was extremely transcendent. In today's unrest, the travelers led the army to fight, and no force dared to attack Washing City. So the travelers thought of worshipping Feng Qi as their teacher, and using his reputation and power to fulfill their desire to unify the world. Regardless of what the travelers thought, the martial arts conference was officially held. According to convention, before the martial arts conference began, the martial arts saint Feng Qi appeared to give a speech and encourage the martial artists present. However, one difference in this martial arts conference was that the martial arts saint announced that he had created a new realm. Exclamation mark. The 6th level of Meridian martial arts. Qi fills the whole body. Exclamation mark. At this moment, countless people at the martial arts conference were shocked. They did not expect that they could witness history and the birth of another martial arts realm. The high-level officials of various city-states who came to watch the ceremony looked at Feng Qi with extremely complicated eyes. It was both their honor and their sorrow to be born in the same era as such a peerless genius. They were destined to be suppressed by Feng Qi for the entire era. You must know that in the past 30 years, the strongest warriors in other city-states on the Zendan continent were only the 4th level, Qihei Zushan. As for the 5th level, 100 apertures gathering spirits, there has not been a single warrior. But Feng Qi has already entered the 6th level, which is 2 levels stronger than them. Exclamation mark. Of course, compared with the other 2 continents, the development of martial arts in the Zendan continent is already good. There is not even a 4th level warrior on Tianyuan continent and Shenjing continent. The breakthrough method spread by Feng Qi has not yet spread to those 2 continents due to the isolation of the sea. When the travelers heard the news of Feng Qi's breakthrough, their eyes became even more fiery. If I have the help of the martial saint, my goal of unifying the world will be one step closer. I must stand out in this martial arts conference and become the disciple of the martial saint. Only in this way can I have a chance to persuade the martial saint to come out and assist me. The atmosphere of the martial arts conference became even more heated. In the next few days of the competition, whether it was the travelers or the local warriors of Tianyuan Star, they all used all their skills and fought with all their strength, just thinking of attracting the attention of the martial saint. It's true that some of the travelers performed well, which made Feng Qi look at them a few more times. The martial arts of these young people are quite peculiar. In a blink of an eye, it was the last day of the conference. There were only 10 people left on the ring of the younger generation. They will compete for the strongest on this last day. Boom. Exclamation mark. Just as the time travelers were fighting fiercely on the ring, sweating, a corner of the city lord's mansion of Washing City suddenly erupted with a shocking sound, like the 9-day thunder descending, and the sound resounded across half of Washing City. At the same time, the heaven and earth energy in that area turned into a vortex and poured into a corner of the city lord's mansion. The heaven and earth energy in that area became thinner because of the vortex. This change immediately attracted the attention of Feng Qi and a group of martial arts masters. Seeing the direction of the change, Feng Qi, who had amazing eyesight, changed his face. No, that's Jaina's forging room. Jaina is in trouble. Feng Qi's figure turned into a gust of wind, and he used his peerless lightness skills to quickly pass by the eaves of the house. Seeing this, the martial arts masters around looked at each other and then set off to follow Feng Qi to find out what was going on. When Feng Qi rushed back to the city lord's mansion, he saw that the original forging room had become a ruin. The hot forging blast furnace collapsed, spilling pieces of burning charcoal. On top of the ruins, a figure covered in dust and looking extremely embarrassed was holding a knife and laughing. Ha ha ha, I did it. I finally forged a magical weapon. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96, The Method of Forging a Magic Weapon. The Way to Refine Weapons. Please subscribe. Please vote for me. I did it. Feng Yan was very excited, holding a big knife in his hand. Seeing that his son's life was not in danger, Feng Qi breathed a sigh of relief. Then he came to Feng Yan's side and slapped Feng Yan's head with his big hand. You kid, how could you make such a big noise when forging weapons? Even the forging room collapsed. Feng Yan, who was laughing, was hit by this and immediately restrained himself, but the smile on the corner of his mouth could not be concealed. Father, I'm in good condition, don't worry. At the moment of the slap, Feng Qi's internal force had already cleverly flowed into Feng Yan's body to check if he had any hidden injuries. Everything is fine. It seems that he is really fine. Feng Qi nodded in his heart, but the next moment his eyes widened. Huh? Jaina, how come all your 8 extraordinary meridians are opened? No. Not only the 8 extraordinary meridians, but also all the other meridians in the body are opened. When did you reach the 3rd level of all meridians? Feng Qi was puzzled. Feng Qi knew the second son very well. He had good talent, but he had been immersed in forging for many years. Therefore, Feng Yan's strength was only able to open 2 of the 8 extraordinary meridians after entering the 2nd level of martial arts. This was indeed the case. The internal force in Feng Yan's body was indeed at the 2nd level of martial arts. But now all his meridians were opened, which was somewhat similar to Feng Qi's innate ability to open all the meridians. What Feng Yan lacked now was just enough internal force. If Feng Qi gave him internal force infusion and directly transferred 100 years of internal force to Feng Yan, he could ascend to heaven in one step and become a martial arts master at the peak of the 3rd level. Feng Yan heard his father's question and smiled. Father, the reason why I opened all the meridians in my body is thanks to it. As he spoke, Feng Yan raised the big knife in his hand. This was a blue big knife, and on its surface, there were white lines like thunder in the sky. With Feng Qi's perception, he could vaguely sense that this knife was actually swallowing and exhaling the vitality of heaven and earth like a warrior. Obviously, the vortex of vitality that appeared along with the earth-shattering sound just now was caused by this knife. This knife is called the Thunder Prison Knife. It is the first magic weapon I made. Feng Yan's eyes lit up, and he looked at the big knife with extreme obsession. Feng Yan circulated the internal force in his body, and it flowed into the Thunder Prison Knife along the meridians on his right hand. Zzzz, the Thunder Prison Knife that received the internal force suddenly lit up, emitting a dazzling blue-white light, and the lines on the blade were even more shrouded in tiny white lightning. Is this the power of thunder? Feng Qi's face finally moved at this moment, and his eyes were horrified. The martial arts masters who came behind him were even more like seeing a ghost, looking at the Thunder Prison Knife in Feng Yan's hand in disbelief. The power of thunder, this is the most yang and powerful force in the world. If an ordinary warrior is struck by thunder, there is only one way to go. But now the second son of the martial arts saint has mastered the power of thunder. This is simply unbelievable! Exclamation mark. The internal force cultivated by the warriors of Tianyuan Star is not so fancy and has various attributes. The internal force of warriors can be roughly divided into 3 types due to different personal constitutions: peaceful, feminine, and masculine. For example, Feng Qi practiced the innate Tianyuan Qigong, and the Tianyuan internal force he cultivated was of the peaceful type. There are no other attributes. So they were so shocked when they saw that Feng Yan's internal force could be transformed into thunder power, divine weapon. Feng Qi's eyes were moved. Jaina, did you really forge a divine weapon? Feng Yan smiled brightly. Yes. Weapons are living beings, and they breed extraordinary power, so they can be called divine weapons. When I forged the divine stone into a knife, I stimulated the thunder power hidden inside, so that it could breed a trace of spirituality, and it could absorb and exhale the vitality of heaven and earth like a warrior. Only such a weapon can be called a divine weapon. Thunder divine weapon. Feng Qi muttered to himself, and took the thunder prison knife from Feng Yan. Feng Yan didn't care about this, because he was his father. No matter how valuable the magic weapon was, it couldn't compare to Feng Qi. Feng Qi held the thunder prison blade in his hand, and the strong internal force poured into the blade, and suddenly a more violent thunder burst out than before. Within a 10-foot range around Feng Qi, there were tiny thunders the size of little fingers, which was really a thunder prison. Feng Qi's control over thunder was like the internal force in his body, as easy as a finger. Feng Qi's mind moved, and suddenly he had an idea. The hundreds of years of internal force in his body were like a small river, pouring into the thunder prison blade, wandering on the lines on it, and then returning to the danshan along the meridians. After this circle of circulation, a small part of Feng Qi's internal force was actually stained with a trace of thunder power. Feng Qi could feel that the quality of this small part of thunder internal force was a level higher than other internal forces. The power it could exert became even greater. The magic weapon actually has this effect. Feng Qi's eyes were shining, and he couldn't help but praise. This thunder power is really good, but unfortunately I'm not a swordsman. Feng Qi felt a little regretful. If all his ordinary internal force was converted into thunder internal force, and combined with this divine weapon, the power he could exert would be at least several times stronger than it is now. But without the thunder prison sword, although Feng Qi's strength would increase, it would not increase that much. Feng Qi looked at Feng Yan. Why don't you forge it into a long sword? Feng Yan touched his head and smiled. Father, don't worry, now I have figured out the method of forging a divine weapon. As long as I get some more divine stones, I can help you forge the most suitable divine weapon for you. Of course, the extraordinary power of the new divine weapon may be of other types, not thunder. Hearing Feng Yan's words, Feng Qi thought deeply for a moment, and returned the thunder prison sword to the former. The small part of his internal force containing the power of thunder was also eliminated by him, returning to a peaceful and attributeless state. After all, Feng Yan said that it was not certain that he could forge a long sword containing the power of thunder. If the magic sword has the power of fire and ice, and his internal force is transformed into thunder internal force, it will be basically impossible for Feng Qi to use the magic sword with other attributes. Otherwise, the power of thunder and another extraordinary power will definitely fight fiercely. It's not good to think about two completely different extraordinary powers fighting in the body. In this case, your father will help you collect other magic stones on the mainland, and you will be responsible for forging a suitable longsword magic weapon for me. By the way, forge one for your brother as well. Feng Yan nodded. No problem, leave it to me. Feng Qi looked at the martial arts masters from various city-states around him, knowing that from today on, the existence of the magic stone will be valued by various city-states. But Feng Qi didn't care. With his strength, it was easy for him to get some magic stones. Besides, forging a magic weapon is not an easy task. Haven't you seen his second son Feng Yan, who was gifted and good at forging weapons since childhood, and it took him several years to figure out a few things. Divine weapons? In Cheoxi Pavilion, Wen Dao looked at a new message on the world log and smiled. It seems that this group of travelers has brought me another surprise. World log Hangji Realm chapter. In the 558th year of the Divine Stone era, the traveler Feng Yan realized the method of forging divine weapons by himself. He used divine stones as materials, hammered and tempered them, stimulated the original energy remaining in the divine stones, and gave birth to a trace of spirituality, which was called divine weapons. The method of forging divine weapons? In my opinion, it should be called the method of refining weapons. Wen Dao smiled brightly. In addition to the mainstream cultivation system, a new extraordinary system has finally been born. In addition to the mainstream cultivation system, the extraordinary world also needs other auxiliary cultivation systems. For example, in some cultivation worlds, there is a saying that there are hundreds of arts for cultivating immortals. Alchemy, refining weapons, formations, talismans, poisons. Some of these can speed up the cultivation speed of extraordinary people or enhance their combat effectiveness. They can make the cultivation system more complete. Wen Dao has always been looking forward to the emergence of these auxiliary cultivation systems. Among these auxiliary cultivation systems, only the alchemy system has shown some signs in the Tianyuan realm and the Hangji realm before. Because of the vitality of heaven and earth, spiritual fruits, spiritual herbs, spiritual flowers and other natural treasures are occasionally born in the Tianyuan realm and the Hangji realm. In order to make better use of these natural treasures, the humans in the two worlds have figured out some tricks for alchemy. Of course, the humans in the two worlds only know the basics of alchemy and have not formed a complete and systematic way of alchemy. But this is not a problem. As time goes by, the alchemy system will be improved little by little. Now in Wen Dao's world, a second auxiliary cultivation system has appeared, the way of refining equipment. Chapter 97, Hangji Realm Promotion. The third Macrodust world. However, the weapon refining system is in its infancy, just like the alchemy system. There is no way. The Tianyuan realm and the Hangji realm are both dust worlds, and the concentration of heaven and earth energy is not high, so they cannot breed many high-grade heavenly materials and treasures. As the saying goes, a good cook cannot cook without rice. Without enough heavenly materials and treasures, the alchemy system and the weapon refining system can only stay at the mundane level, and cannot form a complete system. Feng Yan was able to study the method of forging magic weapons, and he also took advantage of it to find spiritual materials such as the magic stone. Because the magic stone is a transit station for the transformation of the origin into the heaven and earth energy, it is washed by the heaven and earth energy all year round. Its core area is even more washed by the origin energy. Therefore, a trace of the power of the laws of heaven and earth is imprinted in the magic stone. Feng Yan stimulated the remaining origin energy and the power of the law, so that the thunder prison blade could obtain the power of thunder. Of course, this thunder power is very weak. According to Wen Dao, the thunder prison blade can barely be regarded as a second-tier weapon. In some worlds of the myriad worlds, weapons of this level can be called spiritual weapons, magic weapons, etc. If you want to develop auxiliary cultivation systems such as alchemy, refining, and formations, the first thing to do is to increase the types and quantities of natural treasures in each world. And this requires investing more origins in each world, and controlling it to breed some natural treasures in the world. Wen Dao sighed, another large expenditure on origins. Now Wen Dao's origins are very tight, especially when the second batch of traverses in the Tianyuan realm began to explore the Yuan Qi technology, and the expenditure on origins increased. Wen Dao's origins are running out. After all, the various machines invented by Yuan Qi technology need to consume the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth to operate. This also leads to the accelerated consumption of the Yuan Qi between heaven and earth. The second batch of more than 200,000 origins that Wen Dao originally invested will greatly shorten the time for the concentration of the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth to remain at 10%. From the originally estimated 500 years, it has become only 200 or 300 years, or even shorter. This depends on the development of Yuan Qi technology. If the Yuan Qi technology spreads throughout the Tianyuan continent, the amount of heaven and earth Yuan Qi absorbed and consumed will be many times more than what the warriors consume. As the saying goes, to increase your income, you need to increase revenue and reduce expenditure. Reducing expenditure is impossible. On the contrary, Wen Dao has to invest more origins for the emergence of the auxiliary system. So what Wen Dao has to do now is to increase revenue and obtain more origins. But fortunately, the appearance of the traverses has allowed the Hangji realm to successfully advance to the upper level Macrodust world. The Chaos Sea and the main universe have both rewarded 500,000 origins. It has been about 20 years since the third batch of traverses traveled to Hangji Star. They have long used their talents to create countless cross-era inventions. Therefore, many civilizations were born on Hangji Star. Feng Yan explored the method of forging magic weapons and created the way of refining weapons. The large amount of civilization aura of the way of refining weapons produced by him is the final step for the breakthrough of the civilization seed. Let the martial arts civilization seeds of the Hangji Star meridian germinate and grow smoothly and become a towering white tree. Exclamation mark. Hangji realm was promoted to the upper level macro dust world. In addition, the seedling of the world tree also received the feedback from the Hangji realm, and it grew several inches taller, with 6 new leaves sprouting from the main trunk. Master, Wen Dao identity, God of creation, creator, Lord of the world tree, seedling stage, 9 leaves, world, Tianyuan realm, upper dust world, Hangji realm, upper dust world, civilization achievements, civilization trees. 2. Tianyuan blood key martial arts civilization tree, Hangji meridian martial arts civilization tree. Civilization seeds. 1. Zuxia civilization seed, number of origins. 500,000 drops world log, Tianyuan realm chapter, Hangji star chapter. Looking at the information on the panel, Wen Dao nodded slightly. It's time to execute the previous plan and create a new world. This time, Wen Dao is not going to give birth to intelligent life in the new world and develop a supernatural system. Instead, it will be a continuous and stable pasture for harvesting origins. Under the effect of time acceleration, it only takes a few days for the new world to produce a considerable amount of origin, which can solve Wen Dao's urgent needs and supply the development of the extraordinary system of Tianyuan realm and Hangji realm. Thinking of this, Wen Dao once again entered the state of creating the world. Boom boom boom. The 500,000 origins that have not been warmed up by Wen Dao all poured into the third leaf of the world tree seedling to create the world. Half a day later, a planet about the same size as Hangji star slowly appeared in the space inside the third leaf. Under Wen Dao's control, the land of the new planet is mostly high mountains and the ocean is extremely deep, just so that this new planet can carry more life in the future. This third dust world is called Shanhei realm. The new planet is naturally Shanhei star. With the help of the world tree, Wen Dao wandered in the void and selected a space fragment with a flow rate of more than 180 times, which merged with the third leaf of the world tree in Shanhei realm. Time speeds up 100,000 times. The mountain and sea realm suddenly turned rapidly, and time passed quickly. Roughly, 1 day passed on the ancestral star, and 50,000 years passed in the mountain and sea realm. At this point, the creation of the third dust world came to an end. Next, the evolution of life in the mountain and sea realm will be handed over to the heavenly Dao system. However, when the life in the mountain and sea realm evolves to the appearance of vertebrates, the heavenly Dao system will no longer intervene and guide, and let the life in the mountain and sea realm evolve on its own. As for when intelligent life will be born in the mountain and sea realm, it depends on the evolution of the mountain and sea realm itself. Maybe millions of years, maybe tens of millions of years, or even hundreds of millions of years. As long as the mountain and sea realm is not promoted to a mid-level dust world, its time flow rate can be maintained at 100,000 times, providing Wen Dao with a continuous supply of origin. Wen Dao calculated the efficiency of the accumulation of the origin of the mountain and sea realm. The mountain and sea realm does not need to develop a supernatural system, so it naturally does not need the origin to maintain the vitality of heaven and earth. Therefore, the mountain and sea realm can accumulate about 7 or 8 drops of origin every year, and when life appears, it can increase the income by 2 or 3 drops every year. In other words, I can collect about 50,000 drops of origin from the mountain and sea realm in 1 day. Of course, 20,000 of these 50,000 drops of origin need to be invested in the Tianyuan realm and Hangji realm to maintain a normal supernatural environment. The development of the meridian martial arts of Hangji star has been advanced to the 6th level because of Feng Qi. So Wen Dao is going to increase the concentration of the vitality of Hangji star to the same level as Tianyuan star. Of course, this time the improvement is subtle and silent, and the concentration content increases little by little over time. Instead of directly setting off a huge tide of vitality like the Tianyuan realm. The main reason is that Wen Dao's original source on hand has been consumed, and he needs to wait for the return of the mountain and sea realm. In addition, we need to promote the emergence of the auxiliary cultivation system, breed various natural treasures in the 2 worlds, and replenish the huge consumption brought by the Yuan Qi technology in the Tianyuan realm. Wen Dao nodded slightly. I can accumulate up to 15,000 drops of origin a day. Wen Dao was quite satisfied with this result. And this is just the beginning. When Wen Dao accumulates another 500,000 origins, he will create a new world. This cycle will repeat. Then the origins in his hands will continue to increase like a snowball. At that time, Wen Dao will no longer have to worry about the problem of not having enough origins on hand. When the origins accumulate to tens of millions, I can also directly create a small world of Hengsha. Chapter 98, The Lord of Arms Feng Yan. Please subscribe. Please give me a monthly ticket. The news that Feng Yan, the son of the Martial Saint, had created a magical weapon that was as powerful as a 4th tier warrior quickly spread throughout the entire Zendan continent through the spread of the warriors in the Chamber of Commerce. The name of the magical weapon, the Thunder Prison Blade, also spread throughout the entire continent. That day, after Feng Yan created the magical weapon, the Thunder Prison Blade, an old 3rd tier warrior was excited and wanted to see how powerful the magical weapon was. It just so happened that Feng Yan also wanted to test the Thunder Prison Blade, so the two of them started a competition. The final result surprised everyone. Feng Yan, whose internal strength was only at the 2nd level, relied on the magical weapon, the Thunder Prison Blade, and actually beat the old 3rd tier warrior to retreat step by step. The powerful thunder force overwhelmed the latter and made him unable to resist. The battle between the two was completely a crushing one. When the several 4th tier warriors who came to participate in the martial arts conference saw this scene, their faces were all solemn. They said bluntly, "This sword is powerful enough to be no less powerful than mine. This sword can make any warrior ascend to heaven in one step and become one of the world's top martial arts masters." In other words, any warrior, even a 1st level warrior who has only opened up a proper path, can be as powerful as a 4th level martial arts master if he has this magic weapon. Hearing this, countless people around suddenly felt their scalps tingling and looked at Feng Yan in the Thunder Prison Sword in his hand with fiery eyes. The time travelers who wanted to dominate the world were even more eager. Such a weapon that is worth decades of hard training by a warrior can really be called a magic weapon! Exclamation mark. Magic Stone. It turns out that the Magic Stone can forge such a powerful magic weapon. If I have 4 or 5 magic weapons, doesn't it mean that my strength can be compared with 4 or 5 4th level martial arts masters? I can even have the power comparable to that of a 5th level warrior, and only weaker than the Martial Saint in the entire continent? They came to the Martial Saint's city this time. Didn't they want to win over the Martial Saint, the strongest man on the continent? But winning over others is not as good as having a strong power yourself. Of course, the plan to win over the Martial Saint must be implemented. Even if you can't win him over, you must never let others win him over. After receiving such an important message, the people who came to participate in the martial arts conference could not sit still. The time travelers and local warriors sent some of their men to return to their respective territories first, and then gathered their strength to collect pieces of divine stones to prepare for the creation of divine weapons. However, just as Fenki thought, even if they collected the divine stones, they did not have the ability to make them into divine weapons. At most, they could forge some ordinary weapons that could allow the internal force to flow smoothly, just like Feng Yan before. On the other hand, Feng Yan had the experience of forging the Thunder Prison Blade. The several divine stones collected by Fenki later were successfully forged into divine weapons. Some larger divine stones, after Feng Yan's experience in forging divine weapons, became more proficient. The core parts could even forge 2 or 3 divine weapons. There are the Fire Scale Sword that can release the power of fire, the Cold Soul Sword that can freeze the body 3 feet, the Great River Sword that can move a river, the Shadowless Sword that is as thin as a cicada's wing and as light as a feather, and can mobilize the power of wind, etc. The reason why these magic weapons were made into swords by Feng Yan was to allow his father Feng Qi and his elder brother Feng Zuan to choose. Among them, the Cold Soul Sword with the power of frost was taken away by Feng Qi. Feng Qi originally achieved enlightenment and breakthrough on the top of the snow mountain, and created 3 martial arts realms along the way. He has a great fate with the Cold Soul Sword. As for Feng Zuan, he took the Shadowless Sword. When the travelers and warriors from other city-states heard about Feng Yan's deeds, they immediately realized that not everyone can make magic weapons. Instead of letting the blacksmiths and their forces experiment a little bit and consume the few magic stones, it is better to hand it over to experienced people to forge. So, they carried the magic stones and huge rewards and rushed to Washing City again, hoping that Feng Yan could help them forge a suitable magic weapon. Feng Yan did not refuse their request. After all, Feng Yan has a great passion for forging. Just like other warriors are keen on practicing, enjoying the feeling of the heaven and earth's vitality entering the body and being transformed into internal strength. The process of forging is also an extremely enjoyable and joyful thing for him. The birth of each magic weapon will make him happy from the bottom of his heart. This is why he can comprehend the method of forging magic weapons. This is his way. Moreover, Feng Yan can also get a lot of benefits from forging magic weapons. First of all, Feng Yan can use these magic stones to continuously improve his forging level and understand the mystery of the way of forging. In the end, Feng Yan's forging skills are more exquisite, and perhaps he can use the scraps of the magic stone to forge magic weapons. Even when Feng Yan's forging skills reach the pinnacle, perhaps ordinary metals, ores and other materials can be used to forge magic weapons. If it is according to Wen Dao's words, his level of refining is getting higher and higher. Secondly, every time a magic weapon is forged, the moment the magic weapon's spirituality is conceived, the surrounding heaven and earth energy will be summoned and poured into the magic weapon, allowing it to condense extraordinary power. As the creator of the magic weapon, he can naturally take this opportunity to absorb a large amount of heaven and earth energy, allowing his internal strength to continue to improve. And this speed is much faster than Feng Yan's own meditation and practice. For example, after Feng Yan forged magic weapons such as the Fire Scale Spear and the Cold Soul Sword, his strength has grown to the peak of the 3rd level of martial arts, and his internal strength is as long as 200 years. If Feng Yan helps others forge magic weapons and gets a lot of energy in return, then he will break through all the way to the Qi Snow Mountain, the 100 Apertures Gathering Spirits, and even catch up with his father Feng Qi's realm. It is not impossible to step into the 6th level of Qi, filling the whole body. Thirdly, everyone who comes with the magic stone only asks for one magic weapon. But sometimes Feng Yan can forge several magic weapons, and the extra ones belong to Feng Yan. So Feng Yan has no reason to refuse these people. Ding ding ding! Exclamation mark. In the mansion of the Lord of Washing City, the sound of forging iron is endless. Feng Yan, who has the support of internal force, can forge much faster than ordinary blacksmiths, and can forge continuously. Under such desperate efforts, one magic weapon after another was born from Feng Yan's hands. Magic weapons in the shape of knives, guns, swords, halberds, axes, hammers, sticks, spears, shields and other commonly used weapons appeared one after another. Later, Feng Yan had a sudden idea and forged some more complex or unconventional magic weapons, such as maces, halberds, lances, sticks, tripods, towers, flags and other magic weapons. When more than 100 magic stones on the Zendan continent disappeared, they were replaced by 108 magic weapons. 2/3 of these 108 magic weapons were taken away by warriors from all forces to enhance their own strength and use them to dominate the world. The situation on the Zendan continent has become more intense and chaotic. Countless city-states have been destroyed and annexed, and the trend of unification of the world is about to come. The remaining 1/3 became Feng Yan's personal property and was left in Washing City. The chaotic situation in the Zendan continent did not affect the spread of Feng Yan's fame. Even every time a magic weapon appeared, Feng Yan's name would be mentioned. Feng Yan, who forged so many magic weapons, finally got what he wanted and became as famous as his father Feng Qi, known to everyone in the Zendan continent. Feng Yan was also known as the Lord of Weapons. This name means that Feng Yan is the one who forged many magic weapons. It also means that Feng Yan is the promoter of countless wars and turmoil in the Zendan continent. The title of Lord of Weapons is well deserved. Chapter 99, the beta energy version of the Industrial Revolution. Just as the Hangji realm was promoted to the upper dust world, from the Divine Stone era to the Divine Weapon era, the Tianyuan realm was also developing rapidly. With the full support of Emperor Xia, the Xia dynasty tilted a lot of resources to the Yuan Qi Academy. Whatever the Academy's research institutes want, the Xia dynasty will satisfy them. With such great support and the efforts of some technology giants among the Travisers. After several years of hard work, the Academy finally successfully explored and developed a device that can simply absorb the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth. This is a device with complex patterns all over it, with countless lines engraved on the surface and inside, just like the blood vessels and meridians of a warrior, making this device alive. As long as the patterns are closed, it can begin to work, emitting an extremely small suction force, like a warrior practicing a technique, absorbing the surrounding Yuan Qi of heaven and earth to form Yuan energy. Yuan energy is the electricity of the Tianyuan realm and the beginning of Yuan Qi technology. With this device that absorbs Yuan Qi and produces Yuan energy, the various industrial equipment and machines manufactured by the Academy of Sciences have a place to use. Yuan energy lamps, Yuan energy cars, Yuan energy refrigerators and other products of Yuan energy technology appeared one by one in Tianyuan continent. The Xia dynasty also entered the Industrial Revolution from then on. This basic device is also called Yuan Qi. However, due to the limitation of materials, the scope of the Industrial Revolution was limited to the capital. After the change of dynasties, the name of Wujing City changed to Beijing, no longer specific, and these products of Yuan Qi technology, except for the palace and some top dignitaries, other people can't enjoy them at all. There is no way. If you want to make Yuan Qi devices and lines for transporting Yuan energy, you need a material that can match the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth, and can accommodate Yuan Qi. Just like the transportation of electricity in Zuxing requires the use of metals with good conductivity. If you want to spread Yuan Qi technology, you need to make materials with good conductivity. But the reserves of this material in Tianyuan continent are not large. Therefore, there are naturally not many Yuan Qi devices and Yuan conducting lines that can be manufactured, and they cannot be spread all over the world for the time being. Of course, the researchers of Yuan Qi Academy are working hard to solve this problem, constantly conducting research and experiments, trying to find or synthesize other materials that match Yuan Qi. Once new low-cost materials are found or synthesized, that's when the Xia dynasty's industrial revolution will really take off. Outside the capital, where the Imperial Guards are stationed, a special military exercise is taking place at this moment. The flags are flying, and the Emir is solemn. Emperor Lei Kang of Xia, wearing a dragon robe, sits on a high platform, quietly watching the Imperial Guards below. The new dynasty was established only a few years ago, and the spirit of the Imperial Guards around the capital is completely different from that of the late Wu dynasty, full of energy. The Imperial Guards generals and soldiers are full of fighting spirit. During the exercise, they exert all their skills and use various military tactics to fight the enemy. But this time, the protagonists of the Imperial Guards exercise are not these soldiers. Emperor Xia, who was sitting on the dragon throne on the high platform, said, "I heard that the Academy of Sciences recently developed a thermal weapon firearm of Yuan Qi technology." The Dean of the Academy of Sciences, Rozan, replied confidently, "Yes, Your Majesty, we have developed the Yuan gun. Today is a good opportunity for the military exercise, to show Your Majesty the power of this Yuan gun." Lei Kang showed his interest. "Oh, in that case, let's get started." "Yes." Rozan bowed and came to the edge of the high platform, waving his hand to let the long-awaited testers enter. Soon, 6 soldiers holding iron pipe weapons similar to long spears walked to the center of the martial arts field in front of the high platform. In the area 100 meters away from them, a row of rock targets more than 10 centimeters thick were set up. There was also a layer of iron sheet wrapped on it, about 4 or 5 centimeters thick. The soldier on the rightmost of the 6 people, who was the captain, shouted loudly, "Raise your guns. Aim." The 6 soldiers who had been training for a long time raised their guns at the same time, with standard and smooth movements, and their eyes looked directly at the iron targets 100 meters away through the sights on the guns. Store energy. With a click, 6 soldiers pressed a special button on the Yuan gun, allowing the Yuan Kai device inside to form a closed circuit and function. The Yuan Qi of the heaven and earth around the Yuan gun was immediately called upon, and at a speed that ordinary warriors could not detect, it slowly flowed into the Yuan gun, and then converted into Yuan energy, and attached to the bullet in the gun. This whole process lasted for more than 10 seconds. Shoot. When a device like an indicator light on the Yuan gun lit up, the captain shouted angrily. Bang 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 bang. 6 thunder-like sounds rang out in the martial arts field, causing many soldiers and horses around to be startled and rioted. However, this riot did not last long and was calmed down by the cavalry on the side. Emperor Xia, who was on the high platform, watched the experiment of the Yuan gun intently. With his eyesight, he saw the whole process from the Yuan gun firing to hitting the target clearly. The Yuan bullet crossed a distance of 100 meters at a speed close to the speed of sound, easily tearing a 4 centimeter thick iron plate. It rushed into the rock and exploded. A hole the size of a human head appeared on the rock target, and countless cracks appeared around it. Rosen reported back at this moment, Your Majesty, after testing by our Academy of Sciences, this energy gun is more powerful than ordinary firearms. If an energy bullet hits, it can kill a warrior of the third heaven. A warrior of the third heaven's blood coagulation realm cannot release blood and ki. Although his physical defense is higher than that of ordinary people, it is also limited. Facing such an energy bullet, if it hits, it will probably be broken in half. Emperor Xia Lei Kang nodded and agreed. This energy gun is really good. You know, this is just the first version of the energy gun that the Academy of Sciences has just developed, which is equivalent to the original matchlock and flintlock guns of the Ancestral Star. It is already comparable to the power of ordinary thermal weapons in the 21st century, and even exceeds it. After all, ordinary bullets hit the rock and can make a hole the size of a fist, which is very powerful. How can it be like an energy bullet, which can blast out a hole the size of a human head? On the Ancestral Star, this is comparable to the power of a sniper rifle. When the Yuan gun is researched and updated by the Academy of Sciences in the future, the performance of the Yuan gun will be further improved. At that time, the power of the Yuan gun will be even stronger. I'm afraid that even warriors of the 4th heaven and above will not dare to take it rashly. However, the Yuan gun is not without shortcomings. Emperor Xia said, it's just that the charging time of this Yuan gun is too long. It takes more than 10 seconds to fire a bullet. Hearing this, Rosen couldn't help but smile bitterly. Indeed, charging is the biggest disadvantage of the Yuan gun. With such a long charging time, the warriors would have rushed up and beaten him violently, and there would be no chance for people to shoot. But if it is a sneak attack, it is still okay. For example, a weapon like a sniper rifle that can escape immediately if it misses. Or weapons such as Yuan Ki bombs and Yuan Ki mines that charge first. Thinking of this, Emperor Xia's heart moved. Can the Academy of Sciences research a weapon that can continuously accumulate the energy of heaven and earth and increase its power until its power can be comparable to the missiles and nuclear bombs of the ancestral planet? Rosen was stunned and said with a wry smile, Your Majesty, this is impossible. There is no material in this world that can contain so much energy of heaven and earth. If you want to make a weapon as powerful as a missile, the energy of heaven and earth contained in it must be comparable to the blood energy in the body of a 7th level warrior. Even if the Academy of Sciences studies it for countless years, it will not be possible if there is no breakthrough in the science of energy materials. Chapter 100, Lifespan Increased. Blood and Golden Body. Lei Kang nodded slightly, indicating that he understood. Yuan Ki technology has just started for a few years, and it is good to have such achievements. In the future, when there are more scientists in the Xia dynasty, with the brainstorming, the development of Yuan Ki technology will become faster. In order to achieve this, Lei Kang issued a decree from the beginning of the Xia dynasty, requiring all parts of the Xia dynasty to establish schools to enlighten the people and cultivate talents. Anyway, Lei Kang's lifespan is very long, so he can wait slowly. Since Lei Kang broke through to the 7th level, he felt that his lifespan has greatly increased, and it has exceeded the limit of 150 years for ordinary people. However, Lei Kang is not sure how much it is for the time being. Even if it only increases by 50 years, Lei Kang can get 200 years, which is almost half of the time of the Wu dynasty. Such a long time is enough to cultivate systematic scientific and technological talents. You must know that even this newly started Yuan Ki technology has brought a lot of inspiration to Lei Kang. The Yuan Qi structure that absorbs Yuan Ki can also be applied to the human body. It was this inspiration that made Lei Kang come up with the idea of the 8th level of martial arts. So when the development of Yuan Qi technology becomes more mature, more methods of utilizing the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth will be studied. It can bring more inspiration and enlightenment to Lei Kang, and incorporate these inspirations into his own cultivation path, helping Lei Kang to create a higher realm of martial arts. This is also one of the reasons why Lei Kang strongly supports the development of Yuan Qi technology. For Lei Kang, martial arts is everything to him. Whether it was the previous layout in Wu Dynasty or the replacement of Wu Dynasty, it was all to obtain various resources, such as martial arts classics, Yuan Qi and the meat of exotic beasts, so that he could practice to a high level. Similarly, Yuan Qi technology is an alternative resource in Lei Kang's eyes, which can help him achieve greater success in martial arts. Time passed little by little, and 10 years passed in a blink of an eye. The Xia Dynasty Academy of Sciences conducted countless experimental studies, and they fought and fought again and again. But they still did not find or synthesize Yuan Qi materials that can be mass-produced. Yuan Qi technology is still confined to the capital. But hard work pays off. By chance, Rosen and his researchers discovered a material with good conductive properties. The most important thing is that there is a large reserve of this material underground. This time point is just when Wen Dao created the third macrodust world, got enough origin to feedback, and began to breed natural treasures in the two small worlds. Various natural treasures were slowly born in the Tianyuan world. If not, the Academy of Sciences would have to conduct countless experiments to find this material. Using this material, the Tianyuan continent officially ushered in the Industrial Revolution, and various Yuan Qi technology products were produced on a large scale, and then circulated in the Xia Dynasty, while the Industrial Revolution was progressing vigorously. In the past 10 years, Lei Kang has condensed and transformed all the purple blood into golden blood. The blood he condensed is pure yang, as vast as a palace, with earth-shaking power, and golden light shining on the world. It is really like a scorching sun hanging in the sky. At the same time, Lei Kang's extreme thunder spirit has become more powerful after years of practice and polishing, and can attract more heaven and earth vitality around. Compared with the initial power, it is at least 7 or 8 times more powerful. In addition, Lei Kang's soul has also been strengthened. Yes, after entering the 7th heaven, Lei Kang understood that the emergence of martial arts realm is closely related to the soul consciousness of the warrior. At the 7th heaven, the warrior can already mobilize the soul power simply. The previous martial arts predecessor's idea that the 7th heaven is related to the soul is not wrong. Over the years, he began to consciously explore ways to cultivate the soul. It's true that with the help of the human king seal, Lei Kang really created a soul practice method that can actively absorb the vitality of heaven and earth to strengthen his own soul. Of course, its efficiency is very slow compared to blood and qi. At this point, Lei Kang has reached the end of the pure yang blood realm of the 7th heaven. So Lei Kang began to try to break through to the 8th heaven. Due to the inspiration brought by the vitality technology, Lei Kang already had an idea of the 8th heaven of martial arts, and how to break through has been perfected. The name of the 8th heaven of blood and qi martial arts was named by Lei Kang, Blood and Qi Golden Body. When Lei Kang just stepped into the 7th heaven, and underwent the second transformation of the life level, he could feel that his body had broken the shackles of the human body. The human body tissues such as danshan, internal organs, and bone marrow, which were originally thought to have been fully tapped, were rejuvenated again, and there was new potential for him to tap. This made Lei Kang sigh that the human body was indeed the greatest treasure. Therefore, according to Lei Kang's idea, the 8th heaven was to use golden blood to re-temper the whole body, tempering the flesh, internal organs, and bones over and over again, condensing an invincible golden body. This step is destined to take a long time. In addition to Lei Kang's continuous breakthroughs in martial arts, and becoming stronger and stronger, other warriors in Tianyuan continent were also not idle. With Lei Kang as a pioneer, the warriors of Tianyuan continent knew the method of breaking through to the 7th heaven mainly because Lei Kang did not hide it. That is to realize your own martial arts artistic conception, break the bottleneck with the power of artistic conception, and step into the extraordinary 7th heaven. with a direction to move forward. Many 6th tier warriors in Tianyuan continent are full of fighting spirit, doing their best to practice and hone their martial arts skills, hoping to make another breakthrough in the realm of unity between man and nature. Or they travel around the world and compete with the great masters, wanting to emulate Lei Kang's path, wandering on the edge of life and death, seeking a chance to break through. Every top warrior who can practice to the 6th tier is naturally not a mediocre person. They are the best group of people with the best understanding and talent in Tianyuan continent. In the past 10 years, there have been a few people who have really realized the artistic conception of martial arts and successfully broke through to the 7th tier. After the breakthrough, they were all arrogant and confident, thinking that their strength was not inferior to that of Emperor Zaya. The source of this confidence is the artistic conception of martial arts they have comprehended. At the 7th tier, the strength of a warrior is not only based on the blood and energy contained in the flesh. The most important thing is to see who has a stronger artistic conception of martial arts, and who can mobilize more vitality of heaven and earth. The artistic conception of martial arts varies in types, effects, and advantages. Even if they had just broken through to the 7th level, their martial arts realm might be stronger than Lei Kang's. So, after they broke through, they all rushed to the capital of the Zaya dynasty, wanting to fight with Emperor Lei Kang to see who was the best martial artist in the world. The result was self-evident. How could they compare with Lei Kang, who had broken through a long time ago? Lei Kang's extreme thunder spirit and had already been upgraded by 1 or 2 levels. According to Lei Kang's classification of martial arts realm, his extreme thunder spirit and had been upgraded to the 3rd level. With Lei Kang, there was never the possibility that the waves behind would push the waves ahead. One wave was stronger than the other, and the waves ahead would be beaten to death on the beach by the waves behind. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.